Janice kind of expected it 30 or 11.
We're not up yet. Now,
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the October 1, 2018 Board of Supervisors meeting. As with every meeting, we get started off with invocation. Will y'all please pray with me, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings and opportunities you provide us each and every day. We say a special prayer for this group this morning and other groups around the state as they meet to prepare for their county business. They do it in the best interest of what's in your heart and what is needed for the Christian faith. We ask that be with the first responders throughout the area, be with those who are in need, and we ask these things in Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
amen.
All right, let's get started with public comments. Miss Janice, is Miss Roby here with Partnership Specialist? Come on up, Miss Roby. Introduce yourself again to the board, please, ma'am, and tell us who you're with.
Good morning. My name is Kyra Roby. I'm a partnership specialist with the United States Census Bureau. So my job is to talk to elected officials like you guys and community leaders like you guys about the Census Bureau's preparations for the upcoming 2020 census. So if you don't mind, if I just have just a few minutes to kind of get out some quick points that we like you guys to know about. So there are 5 main things that I like to just mention very quickly. The first of which is that Census Day is April 1st, 2020. And so the U.S. Census Bureau is already gearing up and preparing for that day. One of the new things about the census this time around is that the census forms will be available online, and we're just getting that information out to the public. So this is the first census where individuals will be able to participate online as well as in mail-in form. We also like to talk about 3 main things about what census data is used for and how it helps our communities. One is that census data is used for reapportionment reasons. So the reason why we think is really important that people know about the census and what it's used for is that the count of our population determines how many representatives Mississippi gets in the Congress, the U.S. Congress, and so we want to make sure that we get a complete and accurate count of our population so that we make sure that Mississippi gets an accurate representation in Washington, D.C. The second is that the count of the population is important for redistricting purposes. So in each county, state legislative districts, voting districts, school districts are usually based on census data and the count of the population. And the third thing is that for this upcoming census, $675 billion of federal funds are going to be allocated to the states based off of census data. And so that money, comes back into our communities for things like transportation services, Head Start, services for the elderly, food services such as WIC and SNAP. And so we want to make sure that Mississippi gets its fair share of those federal funds. And so to do that, we need to make sure that we get a complete and accurate count of the population. And the goal for the 2020 census is to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. In Rankin County in 2000 and 2010, you guys had about a 76% participation rate in the census, which is really pretty good for the state. A lot of counties in the state aren't faring so well, but we just want to make sure that we just count as many people as we can, and we just want to increase those participation rates in each county. And so I just wanted to tell you guys about that, to get you guys thinking about the census. If there's any way that you guys can partnership with the Census Bureau in terms of publicly endorsing the census, encouraging others to participate, any kind of other organizations or partnerships that you have, encourage those groups to participate in the census. And what we're doing as well is asking each county to form what we call a complete count committee, which is a volunteer group of community organizations that help encourage participation in the census. And so I guess one of my asks is that you guys maybe point a liaison for the county that I may be able to communicate with to share more information about the census and to see what we can do to help encourage participation all throughout the county. And I'm sorry, there's one more thing that I'd like to mention is that the Census Bureau is actually hiring as well. And so we're hiring people in different communities throughout the state. And so we want to make sure that we hire people where they live. And so there are jobs available for the census, and we'd like you guys to promote those as well. All of this information can be found on our website, www.census.gov, and the information about the jobs is available on www.2020census.gov/jobs. And so I thank you guys for your time. And like I said, if there's someone that I can have like as a point of contact for the county to maybe talk more about the census and the possibility of the county participating in these complete count committees, I would more than appreciate it.
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Ruby. We appreciate it.
But you make sure somebody has the information on those websites.
Okay.
I can't write them down that fast.
And I have one packet. We don't get a lot of information, but if I can just pass this along, that would be great. Thank you, Kyle.
I have next on our list, Central Mississippi Planning and Development District. I see our crew here. I'm not sure who's going to be speaking. I get Mr. Dave. Come on up and share with us what you'd like.
Ray, you can come up.
Slay.
Yeah, look, you know I'm going to jump up here when I have an opportunity. I appreciate Ms. Roby coming on behalf of the census, and so we asked CMPDD to step up and be the next item on the agenda, thinking that there may be a request for some sort of point of contact, and so I asked CMPDD to be here. From a background standpoint, the county has regularly and routinely utilized the services that come with simple membership in the Central Mississippi Planning and Development District on the part of the county. As a part of our membership dues, we are afforded the services of CMPDD to help us with all aspects of the census. Those things come around very infrequently, as you know. They come around about every 10 years. They seem to last 5 or 6 out of the 10 years, so you're just about getting finished with one when you start the next one.
Right.
But they do come around very infrequently, and so it's incumbent upon us to have the assistance of those guys, the expertise of the planning district to help us navigate the issues of the census. So I think Ms. Roby's request on behalf of the census to have a point of contact, we're going to be able to quickly to get that handled, and I've asked CMPDD to come forward and help us with how they can serve both the Census Bureau and the county with it as it relates to the census issues. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, and to relate to that, we had actually worked with Ms. Roby's predecessor, Phaedra Robinson, in the past, so we just want to take this opportunity to meet Ms. Roby and make that contact. I brought Jay Wadsworth because I know most of you guys have not met Jay. He's been with the district for a few years now. He is our regional data analyst, and he's the guy that sits back there and handles all the census data as well as other information we receive. And I'm just going to let him tell you a little bit more about our role in the census, and we're here to work with you.
Yeah, hey, thanks. I do deal with a lot of the census information, and I can be used as a resource for any local governments that we serve. Census is once every 10 years, but in between that, there's always a need for census data and trying to find it and trying to understand what you've got and to meet requirements for different grants that might be out there or other needs for demographic data for your area. So I'm a resource for that. We use that information a lot of times for economic development projects. Maybe somebody needs some information. I'm a resource for compiling and bringing that information together. We're also an established census liaison. I work with David Klein and the LUCA program. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's kind of wrapping up now. This to make sure that all the addresses in areas are accounted for, so that when they go to make the count, they know where to go. Make sure they hit everybody. There's other programs for adjusting census tract boundaries that's coming up. PSAP program, I believe is what that's called. And we'll be working with Census on that. We also open our facilities up. If you guys, when you create a committee, a full count committee, if you need a location for those people to meet, our Planning and Development District office is available for that. But we are a resource. That's pretty much all I'll say about that. I do look forward to meeting Ms. Roby. I'm sure we'll be working together as we move towards the 2020 census. But if you need something from me, I've got a card I could leave anybody. It's easy to get in touch with me through the district's website as well. So.
All right.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
So I think to kind of put a bow on that, my hope is that Ms. Roby and maybe Dave or Ms. Wadsworth can exchange information, and then to the extent that this board needs to be involved in assisting with membership on this voluntary committee that was mentioned, maybe we can work through CMPDD and just have a collaborative effort to figure out who might be good representatives to serve on that voluntary committee. And you guys will have an opportunity to weigh in on that subject. Okay?
Okay.
That's it.
Thank y'all.
Next on our list is Mr. Franco, and seeing Mr. Franco dressed out there, I failed to mention he and I are wearing pink, which I'm not sure if his is intentional as mine is, but this is beginning to breast cancer awareness month. So I just want to bring that to the attention of all as we begin that in the month of October. All right, Carl, your show.
Thank you. Good morning. Just want to give you a brief update on the projects we're doing on the courthouse and the misdemeanor facility, and just kind of let you know where we're at on those, especially with the schedule, because I know there's been some questions about that, and just to kind of bring you up to date, you know, we're out on the site weekly in addition to meeting with the contractor, and then we just finished our monthly progress meetings with them. That happens each month, and we're trying to stay on top of where they're at and the progress of it, any issues or things of that nature. So just want to let you know where we're going with that. And just to talk a little bit about the courthouse schedule, because I know that's very important. As you're well aware, they've got hammered initially last year and doesn't seem to be letting up a whole lot on rain. But they are proceeding. We've had extensive discussions with them about the schedules. And you may not be aware, but each month when they submit their pay application, they have to submit an updated construction schedule. And that helps us and them know and plan for delays that's happened or what their critical path is, what's coming up. So where they're at right now is they finally, after long, have gotten out of the ground. As you're aware, I've got the framing up. The key thing that they need to get done this month, which they're planning on doing, is get the roof finalized. They've got the framing and the decking on it, but they've got to get the roof material out there. Once they get that done, then they can blow and go on the interior, which they're doing right now anyhow. And so they've just been delayed by the weather getting out of the ground, but now that they're on the inside, the weather delay will not happen or will not occur as much. Just to go back on the courthouse, and let me give you this as far as schedule. This is where we're at. Just to let you know what's occurred over the last year and a half.
Thank you, sir.
This is a summary of extensions and delays that they've had. We started off giving them 500 days to build the building, and then, as you may remember, they provided savings to the county to extend that to 90 days. So now the base contract started at 590 days. Change order 3 added 27 days to that. That was some changes the users had requested. Change order 4, while it was no money, did go 59 days of weather delays. And the way that's worked out, we have so many days in the specifications that they have to incorporate, and that's based on the National Weather Service. So we do not give them those days, but any days beyond that where they cannot work, and it's not just rain, it has to really affect the work. And then on change order 5, that's where the security separate contract was added there, so that gave them another 30 days, and then some 4 days in the last few months. So they've been approved for 120 additional days to that base 590, which is 710 days, which at our last meeting we talked about an April 2019 finish date. At the last meeting they were saying that they're really still behind on that and that they're looking at June instead of April. We questioned them pretty extensively about that date, and they're accelerating their work schedule to meet that date. The bottom line is they're saying June 2019. We're saying, okay, well, let's just use July 1st. Now, they have not been approved for that date. They've been approved for the April date, so we'll have to see where they go on that. But the realistic date, in trying to coordinate furniture and other things that the county has to provide as a separate, we're working toward July of 2019 for the courthouse. Now, the misdemeanor still in April. It was their last schedule, but that will be extended probably when they add the K-9 facility, which we hope to have the final price on that either this week or next week. You may remember we got a preliminary price that was very high, so we made some changes to that to try and save hopefully $100,000 or more on that. So we're waiting on their final pricing in that. So as it stands right now, on the courthouse, there's been 163 days of extended time, but they've only been approved for 120. and we're not sure how that's going to work out, but we're still working toward July of 2019 and April of 2019 for the misdemeanor. There's not been any additional change orders that result in money, so we're still where we were at last month. I'm talking about funds. We'll be getting two things that were taken out of the original courthouse bid: the landscaping, we're waiting to get a price on it, and the audio-visual. And the reason why those were taken out were we think we can save some money on those from the original budget. They're putting on the courthouse, they're putting an additional superintendent. We're having superintendents they had seem to be getting other offers, but they're going to have two superintendents going on there to help accelerate their work progress, and so that should help coordinate and all that. We constantly have meetings. We've got 2 meetings this week with the courthouse and with the misdemeanor coordination. The sheriff will be involved in those. We're just, as these projects go along, there's a lot of security and access control on both of these facilities that is important to coordinate so that when you open them, you don't have people just walking in or leaving the misdemeanor facility without. So we're trying to get all that coordinated, which happens, in the design too, but it really needs to be double checked at this point so that there's no problem. So that's where we're at on these facilities. Be glad to answer any questions. We've been pleased with both as far as the workmanship to date. I'm going to put to date in quotations, but we've been very pleased with both contractors as far as the efforts and the coordination moving forward. And as you know, both sites are challenging with the slopes and everything else. The street on North Street, we have been meeting with them. They're supposed to have it finally open Friday. That's been a moving target because I know I've talked to the mayor and I know that's been an issue. Every time they think they're getting ready to finish that, something happens. And I think they've got it to a point now. It's just a matter of getting all the grading finalized. So,
Carl, do you remember what the penalty per day is on that?
yeah, I think it's $500 a day.
$500 a day. So in theory, it would begin April 10th or whatever.
Right
Unless it
now,
gets extended
unless they
back.
get any other approved extensions. Now, obviously, they're trying to get everything done. It's not. They've gotten rain. They've had excess rain, and of course, what they didn't, they had a pipe break that wasn't their problem, but it flooded the site up. It was a city pipe that broke a few months ago.
Did we have a retention wall or something fail last week or something over there?
They had
18-wheeler crashed over into
Yeah,
it?
well, they had to
Just circles
rework
it.
part of the retention wall, yeah. And then, but I don't know about the 18-wheeler.
Said an 18-wheeler was unloading stuff and it fell off into it.
It may have, I know they had to,
Do what?
We have that video.
Uh-oh. I don't want to see.
I just know that they had to rework it. I do know that. I didn't know what.
Hey, it
the
wasn't one of our drivers, was it?
No.
All right, good. That's good.
Mike had it.
I got you. I was scared Mike was driving it. That was my problem. That was what bothered me.
They've been pretty good about trying to work around it. It is a tight site in order to have all the work and then deliveries and things of that nature. But that's all part of the project when they did it. But it's not there. I will say both contractors on both projects have worked to try and any issues that come up. It's just part of it. So it's not like they haven't devoted the manpower or whatever else. It's just especially the courthouse is a complex project.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Me there.
Carl, we appreciate your time.
Thank y'all.
Janice, anyone else? No one else for public comments. We'll move into old business. Is there a motion for the minutes? So moved, Mr. Cross, second, Mr. Morrison. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda. I have a quick question, Ms. Laura. Livestock Association premiums and expenses. I get the insurance, but what kind of expenses are those typically?
Premiums are actually not insurance. It's awards.
It's awards.
Oh.
And we've done this for
Okay, I think we
years and
had.
it
I
is
just
in the
assumed some
budget.
premiums. I just
Yes.
assumed we were paying some kind of liability insurance.
No,
I
sir,
guess.
it's called premiums, but it is awards.
All right. Is there a motion to approve the
So
consent?
moved.
So moved by Mr. Gaines, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Fortenberry, welcome. Haven't been around in a while, have you?
I know. I was making you miss me. I joined you today in wearing pink, Mr. Morrow.
Good.
My first item is a request approval for myself to attend the Makeup Fall Conference in Natchez on October 21 through 24 and pay reimbursement for lodging and mileage.
Motion, Mr. Bishop, second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, ma'am.
Second item is authority to pay registration fees in the amount of $250 each to send Deputy Collectors Carla Carter, Jamie Farrell, Maureen Payne, Renee Smith, and Kim Mosley to the Collector Revenue 2 class on October 29th through November 2nd at the MSU Central Research and Extension Center in Raymond, and authority to reimburse mileage.
I'll make the motion we do it. I think this is an indicator, though, that these
Yes, sir.
will be eligible for.
Yes, sir. I believe this, 2,000 per,
Mhm.
and it will be eligible
The
next
next
budget
year.
year.
Not
We need
this
to-
year.
I mean, we discussed this in an earlier meeting. This is a good indicator that these numbers, our budget will be increased
Increased.
next year from
Yes.
there. Okay.
There are
I make a
five
motion that
five
we
of these
send
at
them.
2,000, that will be 10,000 increase in that side.
And what, are these the may or shall?
These are shalls.
Shall's.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. So there's some others we found out we were voting on that
That-
were mays.
right, but this is a shall. Anybody she
I'll
sends on
second.
these.
Motion, Mr. Gaines, second, Mr. Bishop. Any other discussion?
Yeah, how much each one of these gonna get a raise after this?
2,000.
So, hey,
All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. C, Ms. Fortenberry.
Authority to pay registration fees in the amount of $550 each to send Deputy Collectors Crystal Harvey, Melissa Shepard, and Sharon Essex to the Mississippi Collective Revenue IAAO course on November 12th to the 16th at the MSU Coastal Research Center in Biloxi, and authority to pay lodging and any travel-related expenses. And I will remind you that we're losing 4 or 5 senior members who are going to be making a lot more than these are, so your expenses should come down.
so are these
Just a
things
reminder.
before the above ones, but this is a more educated, further along?
This is the
class?
top class. This
Top
is
class.
this is the top, and these 3 will probably be the only 3 that will go to this one.
Okay, all right. How much do these get each?
2,500.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Well, I just have a suggestion going forward, generally, whenever, in the past, whenever, I know my business and even cities, whenever they pay for individuals to go get training out of the coffers of the entity, there's some type of agreement that if they don't stay here a particular period of time, that they
Right.
reimburse us for those expenses.
Well, I'm only sending those that we can assume will be here for a good amount of time.
How would you enforce that with with the county government,
I don't
Craig?
know.
We've tried it before, Steve.
We spend probably more money than we would get back.
I think
I mean, I don't disagree with it, but
I think our history is that we have agreements in place, but no way to really enforce them.
All right.
It's a motion by Mr. Gaines, second by
Shoot me
Mr.
down
Cross.
then, fine.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Keep your seat, Mr. Sullivan. Anybody make a motion for A? Mr. Cross moves, second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Bridget.
Okay.
I was wanting to see what kind of boots Sullivan had on today. There's no telling. Dry day. You never know.
Shiny, I'm sure.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This morning I'm requesting authority to advertise bids for the annual bids for the unit system. These are the ones we didn't have to get the exemption for. It's traffic safety application, soil stabilization, polyurethane, foam application, and asphalt leveling and patching.
So moved.
Wait, we don't have to get bids for these?
Second.
Is that what you
So
said?
we do.
You do? Yeah.
We didn't have to get an exemption. These were
Oh,
just do it
okay,
the
all
regular
right.
way.
I missed that, okay. All right.
Motion by Mr. Cross, second by Mr. Bishop. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Bridget. Come on up, Mr. Harrison.
Are y'all?
Good.
I've got road work accomplished for September and road
So
work
moved.
schedule.
Motion, Mr. Morris, and second, Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, sir.
Request of approval of utility permit for our Atmos Energy to construct a 2-inch HDPE gas main utility along and across Monterey Road and Post Oak Lane to be installed between August and November.
Motion to approve.
Is that what's been going on down the other side of Monterey, a little short?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
They've actually been doing the work and just now turning in the permit. So,
You sure it's not a cellular company?
maybe. Maybe.
They're running into aliases.
Yeah.
Second.
Must be hiding under a
All
different
right.
name.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second, Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Mike.
Thank y'all.
Mr. Parker.
Two items on the agenda, gentlemen. First one I have is Ironwood Estates, and this morning I'm recommending approve the final plat on that development, and we have a letter of credit in the amount of $164,266.45.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cross. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, sir.
Thank you. I'm requesting authority to advertise the Spillway Road North Shore Parkway widening project with that long STP number there.
Beautiful.
Motion, Mr. Cross, second by
Second.
Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor
I
say
have a
aye.
question.
Whoop.
I have a question.
Yep.
Just for the public's knowledge, where is it starting, where is it ending?
Just happen to have a little drawing here for
Well,
you.
you just tell us, I mean, is there a specific street?
Yeah, and actually, what this is that rework of that North Shore, Old Fan, and Spillway Road intersection. That'll re-gut that whole area right there, kind of in front of the McDonald's and the service station. You got Bank Plus on the other side.
Yes.
Right.
So that whole intersection gets reworked. It
This
works
is
its
gonna be
way up.
adding that 3-lane.
And
further
it'll
down
go up to the Kroger
The
medium
Kroger
truck.
area, everybody's
Okay. Alright.
had a lot of issues and complaints on the striping and the roadways and lights.
Traffic
and
backing up.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This will take us all
This
the
is
way out. I
that
think
funds, this is the funds you got out from CPD.
that's correct.
Correct.
Like I said, I just want the public to know how far down we were going.
It'll work its way up. It'll work its
Complaints.
way up North Shore a little bit, down Spillway Road a little bit toward. I think it's almost Hugh Ward, isn't it?
Yes,
Mike?
Hugh
Well,
will.
eventually Pisgah.
Yeah. Eventually.
That's right, that's the next extension.
Tell your grandkids about that.
Hey, and Mr.
Little bit
Buster,
at a
if you
time.
would just tell me again, this is advertising the bids. How long does this take? Give me a time frame, just so.
Well, you're gonna end up killing a month to 6 weeks.
Okay, just on
'Cause you
advertising, come back and
you
award it.
advertise and come back and
Hope to be
award
breaking ground.
contracts, yes,
Do
sir.
it next year.
So for Christmas, we're out there busting up, right?
Yeah.
Maybe so.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah.
Buster.
There is a motion and a second on the floor. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Parker.
Thank you.
Mr. Slay, it's all yours now.
Hey, man, you do know that's our call.
I think we can take,
We can have them start January.
not really. Yeah, we can.
We can take
A through E
items
together?
A through E, yes, sir, as one
Is-
motion.
Anybody
to
got any
set the
questions
A's.
about A through E?
Have them start January.
Hey, you three down there chatting. Y'all got any questions about A through E?
I do not.
Setting
Is there a
public
motion
hearings.
I make the motion.
To consolidate,
Hang on,
motion
hold
to
on a
approve
second.
A through E by
Hang
Mr. Morris, the
Hold on,
second.
Gaines has got an issue, I think.
Hold on.
D.
I'm looking,
You'll make sure it's gas
That's the new
station on there.
It's
These are simply to set
Set the
public
public
hearings
hearing.
for November the 5th.
But he may
Set-
not want to set it. I don't know.
He wasn't wanting to set one last
Oh.
meeting.
Oh, well, you don't want to, the Robert, it's D. Is that the one you don't want to set, or do you? Well, we didn't do it at the planning commission, Craig. It should come off.
just draw a line through D.
Okay?
We do,
It shouldn't be on here.
All right,
Is that
so,
the one?
Mr. President, if we may,
B,
let's,
C, and E.
yeah, let's let the record reflect that we
No,
are
this
not
gonna
taking
be-
action on item 11D. Items A, B, C, and E under section 11 of the agenda are being acted on as one motion. Set public
Motion by Mr. Morrison, second by myself. All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving on to public hearings, Mr.
Hey, hold on a second.
Whoop,
Bob. Hey,
wait a second.
Just stop 1 second if you can.
Renee,
The Long Pine Church Road,
it's not, I don't see it.
it's not listed on there.
Yes, it is. It's this next section, F.
Oh,
Number
okay.
F.
Golly, one bowl down. Okay.
Sorry about
Sorry
that.
about that, Bob.
Go ahead.
I'm
Mash
sorry.
We're ready now.
Mash accelerator, go ahead.
We're good with all four
Yeah.
then?
We were
Yeah,
trying to get
we
to
were-
F. That's what we were
it's
trying to
next.
get to.
Okay.
Here we go.
Well, the next one is the public hearing.
Item F.
Yeah.
First public hearing. This will be for the Gurminder Singh conditional use permit, Highway 25 and Lone Pine Church Road, District 4. Mr. Singh is seeking a conditional use permit to construct a 3,500 square foot convenience store with gas pumps on the corner of Highway 25 and Lone Pine Church Road. Mr. Singh plans to sell beer at this location. This is a 40-acre parcel that is zoned A2. Mr. Singh is wanting to see if he can be approved for this particular use before he obtains a detailed site plan or architectural renderings. We will open that public hearing, and I will ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Gurminder Singh conditional use request. Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Hey, please come forward, please. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mitch Klimmer. My address is 200 Kaiser Road, Lena, which mail comes from Lena, but we're in Rankin County. As the board considers this request, I want to point out a few things. The census information, which is kind of interesting that census people were here today, but in a 1 mile radius of the new site or the current site request, there's 21 houses. It's estimated, that was the 2010 census, it's estimated the 2018 houses is 24. So we've grown 3 houses in a matter of 8 years. It's projected that by the 2023 census, we'll be up to a total of 25 houses in a 1 mile radius. If you look at the 3 mile numbers, there's more. There's 139 in 2010, and it grew to 151 in 2018. And I point this out because I guess our question from those in the community is, why do we need this? There is a current store 3 miles up 25 that I believe this gentleman owns. I don't know that for a fact. And that store has been there for quite some time. So what do we gain by opening a new store 3 miles from that? If you look at this area and you move 3 miles to the south, you have to assume that there's quite a few of these houses in the 3 mile radius that have access to the businesses on Highway 43. 1 mile further down, there's a Dollar General, which provides obviously a lot of selection there. If we look to the future, we say, well, what's going to happen? We don't know, but I know the Highway Department has said that potentially they're going to 4-lane Highway 43 from Pelahatchie all the way to Canton. If I were a businessman that wanted to open a store like this, I would look at one of those 4 corners on that intersection. That's going to be a major draw. If that happens, when that happens, and somebody goes in there and puts a store of some size, what will happen to this new store at the corner of Lone Pine and 25? Will it be abandoned? We don't know. What's going to happen to this man's current store in Scott County? We don't know. Not my concern, really. But if it closes, does it now become an eyesore for their county? And if something develops at 25 and 43, what happens to this current facility? If its goal is to sell beer, that can be done anywhere on 25, maybe closer to where the whole business would be more successful if and when a competitor comes in. So those of us in the community that I've spoken with are very much against this. We have concern about our safety. Our Sheriff's Department, because we're in the northern part of the county, the Sheriff's Department is stretched thin to provide security for us. We have that concern as well. What's attracted to this area? There's a family here that along with my wife, but more so this family lately, it picks up trash up and down Lone Pine Church Road. It's a strain on the county to go clean this up, and we understand that. So we're picking up our own trash off the roads. Is that going to get any better when we open a convenience store at this corner? I doubt it. It's very close to a Lone Pine Church. I've spoken to several members there. I think Mr. Gaines has spoken with them as well and has some feedback from them, but we have concerns about that. There's concerns about the infrastructure. Can water be provided here? The water line kind of dead ends there at the church. That's going to have to be extended at his expense, not the board. I'll sit on the water board, and we have concerns about how much water is going to be needed, so he's going to have an engineer look at this and determine how much water is needed. Can we even provide that water? If not, what steps can he take to provide that water? I don't know. There's very little fire protection in that part of the county. I'm sure you're aware of that. There's volunteer fire departments down on 43. What does this do to our county, and what are we trying to develop in this part of our county? I think if you look at the development that's happening now 25, you're going to see high-end, not inexpensive developments, providing homes for folks to get away from some of the urban sprawl of Jackson coming to Flowood and trying to move out a little further. So this impacts that. If this area had no solution for gas and for food, maybe that's a different discussion. But right now we know we can drive 3 miles to the old store, we can drive 6 miles to other places, go to Dollar General, whatever we need to do, and heaven forbid that we drive all the way to Flowood and get something in. And where this location sits, I can be in the Walmart in Flowood or the Walmart in Carthage in the same amount of time. So again, we encourage the board to consider these things as you make your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Others who wish to speak in opposition to the conditional use request? Anyone else to speak in opposition? Okay. Mr. Singh, do you have anything that you want to say? Okay. We'll let the record reflect that Mr. Singh was given an opportunity to speak on the matter and has declined to do so. Unless the board has any questions for those who have come to speak in opposition, we will.
I have a question. What is the state law on the distance from a church to where beer can be sold?
There's not a state law. We regulate that under our beer ordinance, Jay, and I'm not 100% sure. I didn't look at that. Is it 1,500?
Is it 500?
I didn't even bother to look that up, Steve.
I don't think it's material.
Okay.
As
500 feet.
As Mr.
500.
Yeah, it's 500.
Is that how we do it?
That's how all the municipalities do it. Go out the front door, go down, and go back. Municipalities do it that way.
Okay.
Measure it that way.
All right.
Dr. Kaiser alluded that I had spoke with the church. The church, Lone Pine called and asked if I would come and listen to them, and I did. They were unanimous. In fact, they had this meeting at church time where they had the most people there, and they were unanimous that they did not want this. It's probably a quarter of a mile, less than a quarter, somewhere around a quarter of a mile, but they were unanimous that they did not want to have this rezoned.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think he brings up a valid point, the gentleman here before us. He challenges the need within the request for the zoning. If the applicant is not willing to challenge that, then he's leaving that kind of out there for us to take it.
Yes.
You know?
And just so that the record's clear, this is in fact a request for a conditional use. It's not a rezoning as such. I just want to say that so that the record's clear about what we're doing here. It is within this board's discretion to allow the use with conditions. You have the ability to either outright deny the use, period, to grant the use without condition, or to grant the use with conditions. That's the purview of this board. So it's not a rezoning request, and we're not entertaining necessarily, although I think they are relevant considerations, they're not necessary for the board's determination here. And so anything that the board wishes to identify as responsive to the community, it's within the purview of the board. I would like to ask, based on your representation of the church's position, I would ask Mr. Singh if he has anything that he wishes to say in response to what you've heard the supervisor say about the church's reaction. Do you have any comments that you need to make on that? Okay, very good. Do you have any other questions that you would like to raise? Do you have any other comments that you want to raise at this point?
I would just, this is very unusual in the sense that I know this area is growing, obviously, or is it?
It's pretty slow pretty slow. I mean, like,
It's hitting the spot that's really booming.
no, I think his numbers was about 3
Yeah,
houses.
this is literally the last road, public road that I'm aware of in Rankin County before you hit the Scott County line.
Never mind. Okay.
You can't get any more far north of the county than this particular site.
Okay.
That's why he's giving comparison to Scott County from there.
Right.
Any other comments or questions, guys?
I mean,
Will?
is he planning to build it immediately, Steve? I mean, is
I
that
think so.
Sometimes people purchase, hold it 3 to 5 years, so the growth kind of matches up with, what's going on, and, and then build it.
Yes. I don't know that this board's action would impede
I think
a transaction regardless.
Yeah.
I think we could look at it down the road, and if there's any changes to the request that would satisfy the people that live around there in the church and our board, then we look at it at that time.
Okay. If there are no other comments or questions, we'll officially close that public hearing. It'd be appropriate for you to take action on the conditional use request.
Is there any kind of motion, a motion to deny the conditional use?
Yes,
or
sir.
a
Since
motion
it's on for action, we need to have if the position of the board is that are going to deny the request, we need a motion to deny the request, and that needs to be acted on.
I'll make the motion, we deny it.
Motion by Mr. Gaines to deny it, second Mr. Cross. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Slade.
Thank you. Thank you. Those who came on that particular matter are free to go if they wish. You're also welcome to stay if you wish. Item G is the public hearing on the Darren and Shelley Sparks conditional use permit at 5658 Highway 18. This is District 3. Darren and Shelley Sparks are seeking a conditional use permit to operate a welding shop in an existing building at 5658 Highway 18. This will be a part-time operation. They want to advertise the business by placing a sign along Highway 18. They own a total of 18.3 acres, and this property is zoned A2. At this time, we'll open that public hearing, and I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Darren and Shelley Sparks conditional use permit request. Anyone to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition of that matter, and therefore we'll close that public hearing, and I would entertain action on that item.
Ms. Renee, y'all discussed any conditions? Are they hours of operation, what days, anything else, size of the sign, anything like that?
We haven't talked about the size of the sign per se, but yes, there was hours of operation that she had given us. I think, just a second. She said it would be on a part-time basis. I think her husband has another job, and this will just be part-time when he's at home to work on.
We need to define part-time. I mean, my definition of part-time to other folks can be vastly different. Is it gonna be like 3 to 7 in the afternoons, or just?
She's here.
Ms. Sparks, if you wanna come forward, please, if you don't mind. We just need to kind of delineate your hours.
Nighttime.
Sir?
It's nighttime, I apologize.
Well, that's fine, whatever. I just need some.
No, that's okay. And it may not would even be a 3 to 7. It may not would even be an everyday thing. It was really because his full-time job that he had was like, I think he was home by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was just evening work, weekend work sometimes, and just. We've actually had people, because of the sign being at the road, people would pull up in the driveway, hey, my bush hog needs something, whatever, and he would just, so it was just a random thing.
Okay.
And you're off the road. It's good to be
Yeah.
off the road, the way I remember it.
Yeah, we are, we're between Johns and Puckett, we're way out there.
Yeah.
And as for the sign, if I had to estimate on the sign, because we still have it, it was just put up and I haven't looked at it in a while.
It's like this big, this big.
Yeah.
How far is that from Florence?
Oh, we're,
Puckett and Johns.
That's down in Puckett.
John.
In between John.
We had like a 20-mile radius. You can't open a welding shop.
I promise you, we're at least that far from Florence.
Oh, that was dirty.
Oh, that was good.
If I had to guess, the sign may be
She gonna
like
take it down? What's the-
4 by
leave it up
6
like that?
or something. It wasn't huge. We ordered it offline and had it made up, and it was held up with T-posts, so I mean, it wasn't anything giant.
Give me a size.
And it was
I
at the
mean,
end
that's
of our
what
driveway,
I think the
so.
biggest concern about what he's getting at is, you
It is a
know,
banner.
traffic and
It's
noise complaints,
banner.
you know.
Ms. Sparks? I'm
I
sorry, what's the
prom-
question? Yep.
I'd say you're most concerned about traffic and noise complaints from the neighbors.
Well, it's that, and you start opening up Pandora's box for other people wanting to do part-time work along 18-2, and before you know it, you may go find a business you don't really want, you know, or even on a part-time basis. I don't have a problem with a welding shop.
We all have to approve it.
Yeah, well, it's harder to sit there and say, yay, but you let Ms. Sparks do it, then you get the litigation aspect, you know, because people want to challenge it.
She is way down there.
That's a moot point at this point in time. We're gonna do it, but I just want to get it lined out and come up with some parameters to work within. I think we looked at the sign, that's really more of a temporary type banner type sign. We need something a little more permanent looking. And I don't know what to come up with for any other size, or what'd you say?
Well, that banner looked like a, what, 3x6 or something?
Yeah,
4x6,
it's not
4x6.
really large. And it's not an eyesore. I wouldn't consider it an eyesore. I mean, if it was at my neighbor's house, it wouldn't bother me, but.
Well, you could take the banner and put it on wood.
Exactly.
It's something that just kind of gets it off the
More
banner side.
permanent,
because
is that what you mean?
Well, the banner's kind of like a temporary sign.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is not gonna be a temporary issue.
You
I
want
don't
it to
think.
look more permanent.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so if
That
you
can
get
be
with
done.
us about the permit on that,
You want now?
just come to us for a permit on that when you get
Okay.
ready. And let us
Okay.
And
look
then
at it.
from an hours of operation standpoint, 3 to 8 daily, that kind of fits what you,
Well, on a weekend though, it might be different though.
Saturdays, what do you think, 7 to 5, something? And what I'm trying to do is just come up with, what I make it envision here is kind of a worst case scenario, the business grows. And and it turns, and it's getting more popular, and it's going to end up turning into a full-time occupation, and then we got a real problem because now we've got a really full-blown commercial use within an ag use. So I just we can kind of stay within some parameters, and that way we kind of gauge where we
completely
move forward.
understand. I completely understand.
So 7 to 5 on Saturdays?
Yes, that's fine.
All right, we'll just call 7 to 5.
He would be fine for that.
We'll just say 3 to 8 on Monday through Friday, and then 7 to 5 on Saturday.
What about Sunday evening?
And everything pretty much stays behind that hedgerow, I believe. That's where the shop is anyway.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, all the work, everything, anything parking of anything that's going to stay there for
Yeah,
a day
it
or
would be
so.
up in our personal yard,
You know,
pretty much.
Back away. The only thing I could envision is complaints from the adjoining neighbors if they start seeing more equipment staying there for a day or two or a length of period of time to get repair work done. That might present some issues with somebody. I don't know if that's going to be happening or not.
Well, we have almost like a wood line
Okay.
between us and our
Whatever
immediate next door neighbor. So if they saw stuff, I would be really surprised. But
Whatever
there's
you can
almost a
do,
complete
and I'll
wood
speak
line.
to Mr. Jones' benefit here, whatever you can do to keep it out of other people's vision, the better off everybody
Mm-hmm.
is.
What about Sunday afternoon? A lot of times
Sunday afternoon, I got no problem Sunday afternoon, what,
because we put Saturday, so.
12
make
to
sure.
12 to 5, 12 to
Okay,
7.
that's fine.
Anything else, Mr. Slay?
Nothing really, except just to clarify that this is in fact a permitted temporary use. Any expansion of this into some sort of full-time operation would be an unpermitted, non-permitted expansion, and would require them to come back and actually ask for what's on that property. Okay, so there are some natural breakpoints around this thing within the structure of our regulations anyway.
Okay.
So you're
You
simply
gotta wait.
defining specific hours that are associated with what is a temporary operation. I'm sorry, not temporary, a part-time operation. This is not this gentleman's and Ms. Sparks' full-time business. And if it becomes the full-time business, then we're gonna have to have additional action that this board will have to take, probably have to be rezoned. Okay?
I make a motion to approve, set on those specifications, or, I'm sorry, conditions that I outlined.
Second.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Parks.
For the record, that hearing was closed.
Yes.
Okay? The next item is the public hearing for the Jackson Cellular Telephone Company, DBA Verizon Wireless, conditional use permit. This is at 566 Williams Road, it's District 3. Verizon Wireless is seeking a conditional use permit to construct a cell tower at 566 Williams Road. The tower will be 211 feet tall, and it includes a lightning rod and a foundation. The tower will be 590 feet off of Williams Road. A row of hardwoods on the front and sides of the property will remain and serve as a visual buffer to the tower site. The tower is designed to allow for 2 additional carriers to co-locate their equipment on the tower, and this is a 32.25 acre parcel. It's zoned A1. At this time, I'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there is anyone here to speak in opposition to the Verizon Wireless conditional use permit request. Anyone to speak in opposition to that? Okay.
A1 out there.
Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition.
Really?
It is A.
Would you have thought that?
I thought it'd been RA1A.
Yeah.
Huh?
A1 is.
A1? You had any calls on it?
Not one.
You had a sign up on it though?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve. If the why don't you ask him before we say yay? Little pressure here.
Is there
Go ahead,
someone,
I'm sorry.
are you with Verizon?
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, come forward, please. Okay, thank you. If you will introduce yourself to the board, name and address, please.
Good morning. My name's David McGee, excuse me, 121 Village Boulevard, Madison, Mississippi, here for this application.
Yes, thank you so much. I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
It is not a condition to the conditional use.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on the answer.
But we always make this request, or we make this ask on behalf of the county. Would there be any opposition, to your knowledge, from Verizon Wireless, that if the county were to need access to a tower in that location primarily for emergency response related services, would there be any opposition from Verizon to allowing the county to co-locate on that tower?
Usually no opposition. If there's space available, they usually would always want to work with the county to provide that.
Let me ask one question, just out of curiosity. Is there another tower close to this spot? I think you've got one.
You
that-
can't compel a carrier to go to another.
No, there is one.
No, I'm just
Close,
asking.
yeah.
I mean, if you've got
There
another,
is.
what would be the reason of using that one rather than? I mean, that's what I'm asking. Is if we've
The-
already got a tower down there within a couple miles of that existing location, why would we add another one? I mean, I'm just asking.
But there again, it's probably not a Verizon tower.
I don't know
It's
whose
an AT&T,
tower.
maybe an
Oh, it is.
AT&T or.
You're right.
I've got some maps here. If I'd be glad to share with the board. I think the nearest tower I was just looking at it is a mile and a quarter. I think to the north. I think it's a power company tower behind kind of a Lexington neighborhood.
No, there's one. No, that's
There's
not
one
north.
there, I remember that.
And that's about a mile and a quarter, and that's the northwest. And then I think to the north, y'all have a county tower that I forget the address.
Wayne is shaking his head like he knows what's going on down there. What we
Down
got?
across from, what is it, Briar Hill Baptist
Uh-huh.
Church?
You got,
That's the
say
county's
just
tower
east
there.
of that,
Okay.
yeah. So that one's north of where he's talking about putting in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This site is designed, and I've got their propagation maps designed on just a need for service. The location was determined to fit between where their existing antennas are and provide, best coverage and without any loss of service, and be happy
It's
to.
because Verizon doesn't use those other two towers. So this is your tower.
This would be a Verizon tower. They do co-locate on other towers. They may be, I think they are on that county tower. That's,
Which one did you say was to the northeast? That was of this spot.
To the north of
northwest
Briar Hill
was
Baptist.
the power company.
But there's not a cell tower
No,
to the northeast of
that's
it?
northwest of there.
Take me
Northwest,
take me
yes, sir, that's
northeast of
correct.
that spot.
Northeast, I think, is a
That's
county
north.
tower.
It's
Yeah.
one at Monterey
Right across.
Road and 469. Is there
There's
one
a
up there
cell
by
tower
that gas
northeast
station?
of that spot.
I think that's
It's
right.
straight across
Get my
from,
maps here.
almost straight north from where he's talking about,
Okay.
but it's at across from Briar Hill
But that's a
Church.
cell tower, right?
Yeah, Briar Hill Church,
Right.
there's a road right there and it goes back, there's a cell tower down there.
Okay.
And that's one you're talking about.
Yeah, that's the county's tower there.
Is it a county tower?
I think it's county
That
tower.
shows,
That'd be
I
the,
don't think so. And the only reason I'm familiar with it, we had a medical call in that area.
says the distances,
It's been a while. I just remember the tower being right there at that spot, and I don't care one way or the other. I mean,
and this is,
I was saying-
I can't compel Verizon to go someplace else.
No, I'm with you. I'm just saying, I didn't know if-
This is still pretty much
there's also.
free market
see how we can.
No.
decision,
Well,
you
don't
know. I mean, unless we think the landscape is going to be impacted.
Well, that
In
was
my
my-
opinion, the way this particular tower is a closed net top, and it's not but 200 feet, and they've done a good job of disguising the base of it. So,
I just didn't know if you
mean,
just wanted to fill the area with towers. I mean, that was my only thing. I don't care one way or the other.
They didn't
Whatever you think.
circle that or anything. There we go. And the distances are on the left. All right, I've got another copy of that if I pull out here.
Oh, I know exactly where,
This is the proposed tower, circled spot right here. This mark right here indicates a power company tower that's in place
Okay.
that.
That's
that
Briar
does
Hill
not
there.
allow for any co-location. That one is on 469.
That-
That
this,
one right there is, I believe he said that's the county tower.
that's the one I'm talking about right there, up here. See, it's straight north.
So this is the proposed. That's the county tower.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Sorry. Let's see. And they got them named over here with the distances. The one north is, let's see, Monterey, 2.1 miles north, and they're on that tower already. And then I've got a map.
Well, that'd be the county tower then, wouldn't it?
This shows, and, you know, I'm sorry for all the colors, it's kind of hard to read. But around each site, you can kind of see this multicolored, what it covers. So that county tower, you know, comes down into here, you're probably getting some outdoor coverage, you know, here, but as far as in building or in your car, you know, you get this far away, not so well. And then that's the next one on 49 they're on, I think.
So you don't have
4
anything.
miles.
You don't even have anything a half a mile from the spot you're
No,
on.
sir.
In fact, I didn't realize it was 2 miles, what do you say, mile and a half, 2 miles?
My distance
Mile
is
and a
bad.
quarter to that,
Yeah.
right?
My distance is
No,
bad.
let's see, no, that one, I think it's they call that Monterey.
Yeah.
2.1.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
The one that was closest is that power company that's behind
Right.
Lexington. I
Right,
think
that's
it's-
right, that, yeah, right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I, you know, we would go ahead and submit these. Anybody wants to.
All right, let me see this one. If you don't mind, I'm good. I mean, whatever you want to do. I was just
Mr. Slade,
getting
you
a bunch
want
of them around there.
this condition, do you want to make that just a friendly condition, or you
Yes,
want
sir.
to try to?
I don't, we don't want to get into the issue. There's a couple of things that come to mind, Bob, about that. I just wanted to get some sort of statement of an openness to a request if we can approach them about county co-locating on this tower for respect to
That's
emergency
the one-
response.
that's the one I'm thinking
I
about.
wanted that to be on the record
That's a
that
cell
we
tower.
would hope that there would be an openness to that. There are always going to be issues of, is there space available?
That's the one that
What
we
sort of
can
actual
share.
utility is going to be affixed to this site? What is it that
That's the
we're
one I was
asking to
thinking.
co-locate in
I
terms of
guess we can't share
equipment? Is there an appropriate power supply? How do we address issues of the power supply itself?
That's the one
There's a
that
lot of
Lexus-
moving parts to that we'd have to work
So,
through.
yeah.
But the first step is to make sure that there at least, there would be an open door to make the ask.
School should be right there.
And that's why I wanted to make it clear on the record
Hey.
that we intended to ask if we needed to.
That's the one. I
You
was
ready to
thinking
move
about.
on this?
Yeah, hey, just tell me again. Just the one that says the Florence Crown. That was what?
That's a tower that belongs to a power company.
So it's not a cell tower.
It's not a cell tower. Well, I mean, they may be doing cellular services off of it. They don't
Can
allow.
I see which one?
Yeah.
Sure,
The
it's the one you
scroll
circled.
mark.
That's the one I was thinking of in my mind right there.
Yes.
That's not a cell tower?
That's a co-op, correct, it's a big tower.
But it's not a cell tower.
Right, it's
Okay.
an electric co-op.
Okay. That's the one I was thinking about
Okay.
right there.
Yeah, they got a power station right close by.
Yeah, it's
I was
400
thinking that was a cell tower.
It's
area.
400 feet tall, we're requesting one about half that height.
Okay.
I've made the motion to approve.
Second.
Second, Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. David.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Slade, let's move on.
And, no, go ahead, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Next item under the agenda is item I, a public hearing on the Aaron Beeman conditional use permit. This is at 201 Emmanuel Jones Road, District 4 parcel. Mr. Beeman is seeking a conditional use permit to replace an existing manufactured home with a 2018 16 by 80 home at 201 Emmanuel Jones Road. It's a 17-acre parcel of family land. It's zoned A2. There are 4 other homes on the property. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Aaron Beeman conditional use permit request. Is there anyone to speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. Unless you have questions or comments on that, we'll close the public hearing. Okay? This time it'd be appropriate to take action.
I make a motion to approve it.
Motion by Mr. Gaines to approve, second Mr. Bishop, excuse me. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next.
Yes, item J is our public hearing on the Judy and Danny Hall nuisance property at 521 Holly Bush Road, District 2. As you guys know, we initially had this as a review matter. It was converted into an actual nuisance property consideration. We've had an opportunity, a number of folks on the part of the county have had an opportunity to visit with Mr. and Ms. Hall, with their attorney, and Fire Services from Reservoir Fire Department was present at the meeting and well represented. And this issue revolves around the property at 521 Holly Bush Road, which is an old, I would call it, is it antebellum? It's not antebellum. Okay. It's an older home that's been converted. It was approved in 2008 by the county, by the board at the time, for bed and breakfast use, and it's continued in that fashion over time. In recent days, there was an opportunity for law enforcement to actually go into the facility. They were looking for someone to serve process on. At the time that was happening, observations were made by the law enforcement officer who brought it to the attention of the Office of Community Development concerning the condition of the property and concerns about the safety with respect to the property. And so that sort of kicked everything off. At the hearing on, help me out, I'm losing track of dates. Was that on the 14th September the 14th that we initially discussed that? We asked the fire department, Reservoir Fire Department, to do an inspection of the facility, and those guys, we got eyes on the ground there, and those guys were able to make a listing of particular items that have to do with life safety. We have had an opportunity to meet with Halls, and the upshot of that is that they've been provided with an itemization from Fire Services of issues that need correction, that are life safety issues that are in need of correction. I think the outcome of the meeting that we had on Friday with Halls is that some of the items on that list have been accounted for. In fact, I would say that probably the majority of the items on the list had already been accounted for. Some work had already taken place. There were some additional requirements that we discussed with them, and so the discussion concluded by us suggesting that we would get here today and see where we are, and then present to the board from the Fire Services side of it where we think we need to go in the short term, while we are continuing to address some of the actual, what I'll call, other code enforcement requirements that are outside the purview of the fire department. We're also dealing with those as well. So I would assume that there's no one here to speak outside of Ms. Hall and her counsel. If there's anyone else to speak on this matter. Okay. All right, very good. Then go ahead.
Can I ask one quick question? If we were to say, shut down the bed and breakfast, no longer a bed and breakfast, it's now just a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's to keep her from just renting out rooms in her house?
Well, it's residential.
Okay. I mean, people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what, didn't the fire department, didn't they go out there twice? I thought we already had a list.
Yes, sir.
Well,
14.
Jay's talking about something totally different at this point.
Yeah, I know.
He's going another direction.
No, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm with you. If it's a straight residential house and she rents out rooms, it's just no different than
You and I.
my house, yeah. That's correct.
Okay.
Multifamily?
I mean, Renee, I mean, I don't know that.
There is a definition for a boarding house or lodging or rooming house in here as well, so.
It wouldn't be permitted, Jay, to answer your question. It wouldn't be permitted. We would have the ability to address it from a zoning context. If it's single-family dwelling in its current zoned context, then we have the ability to address that by suggesting that it meets the other.
Single-family dwelling, and if you rent out, say, 3 rooms, it's no longer a single-family dwelling.
That's right.
Okay.
That would be the position that we would take.
Okay.
Unless they're all kin to you.
Right.
Are we ready to have Ms. I'm going to give Ms. Hall an opportunity to speak to the board about actions that have been taken?
That does go on, because honestly, my daughter was in college.
Yes, sir.
The guy had a house and she rented a room, and 3 more rented a room.
Right, but the situation here is we're approved for a bed and breakfast.
I mean, I'm saying if you just shut that part down.
Correct, but you can't based on the zoning is what they're saying.
I think it's important to point out that in the past, we have been made aware of advertised, I believe it was Airbnb was where the advertisements were taking place in a residential subdivision, and we addressed it and we closed that operation down. It's not like we just ignore that. When we become aware of those kinds of situations, we try to address that, Jay. And clearly our position is that if we don't know about it and it's becoming a glorified hotel situation outside of a permit structure, then we try to address it. Okay.
Let me add one thing if I can to kind of get started. This may kind of limit some of our discussions at certain points. To kind of give you a rough idea of what happened, the fire department sent them a couple letters that listed out life safety provisions that we wanted to be addressed inside the bed and breakfast or the structure itself. To Ms. Hall's credit, she's worked diligently over the last several weeks to address as many of these life safety issues as she can. She's gone above and beyond as far as taking steps to try to get these things remedied. We met on Friday with her group. The fire department's done an outstanding job. Captain White, Scott Berry, and Josh Swells, also working together and to try to get these life safety issues met. I can't remember exactly the number off the top of my head that's been addressed, but there's a couple more that still need to be addressed. What I'd like to do is to allow her to continue on with the process of getting this building up to code on the life safety standpoint. After we get the fire department to go back out, and I believe we got it set up for in the morning, to examine the things that we've done up until this point. I mean, basically, we're just going on Ms. Hall's word, and by no means do I mean you're not telling us the truth. But I'd like for our fire guys to see it and be sure we're taking the right steps that are headed down that route. We go about that route in the morning, have the fire department come back again on the 14th, or even document us a letter, Captain White, letting us know what they find on an inspection tomorrow. And then there is a few more items that need to be addressed that I know I've talked to Ms. Hall about on the sprinkler side of things, on that side. That needs to come to a quick resolution, time frame wise. That if we want to put a time period around the completion of that, I believe you've already got a pretty good time frame for me, Ms. Hall, as far as getting that going in the next 7 to 10 to 15 days time frame. But I'd like to come back upon the inspection in the morning to be sure that the items are being addressed on the life safety issues. Get a report back from Captain White and Chief Berry, followed up with Ms. Hall on the 14th meeting, I believe it's the 12th meeting, the meeting on the 12th, and then decide where we go from that point at that spot. This allows her to continue to work, continue to meet the codes that are out there, and get that building up to compliance as quickly as possible.
My question would be, are we working the fire safety to a bed and breakfast use? Is that what we're
Correct.
The fire and safety?
Correct.
To? That's right.
Correct. Renee, do you want to add anything to that? Oh.
I'm good on that.
Yeah, that's the point of it. And again, the issues we're talking about addressing aren't just simple items that just can be cleaned up or picked up. These are all life safety critical issues on people that might be dwelling inside this residence. That if we have a fire or something like that, their safety takes precedence. So I commend Ms. Hall for working on it. I commend the fire department for doing the inspection side. Renee's office has done phenomenal as far as working with this situation. So I think that's my recommendation on the best answer. So With that being said, if Ms. Hall wants to speak or if something else needs to be said, then we can. If not, I'd just like to put it forward into tomorrow morning's inspection by the fire department. Ms. Hall, Renee's office will be there, obviously on the same point. And then once we get these life safety issues addressed, then we can move into the mindset of the zoning and the issues from the building department side. Sure.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask if we can specify tomorrow that it's just the fire department, because it's an awesome task to get done, and then let me get you happy and satisfied and know that I did what I needed to do. And then I'd like to deal with Renee and Brian on another inspection, if that would work.
Yeah, what I'd rather have both parties there. And the reason I say that, the more we can all wrap our minds around everything going on, the better we can get this solved as quickly as possible. So I kind of like both departments that are there. In the perfect world, I'd love for the county and the fire department to live beautifully together, and I think they do a great job of that. One kind of supports the other one. The good thing to me on codes is the more opinions and more eyes you lay on something, the better chance you've got of resolving something that needs. So in my opinion, I'd like to have them both there.
I'm much more progressed with fire because it was an awesome thing to do. Right. So I just wanted to be upfront that I'm not as well progressed on code
well, and
as I am on fire
tomorrow we're
safety.
looking at the life safety issues addressed by the fire department, and Renee's office will be there just to be there with those guys. If that's
We're
okay.
fine with that.
Sure.
And I hope to show you that tomorrow I do not have the sprinkler, but if I've ordered all the right products and all the right installs, then I think I have everything else on the list accomplished
Yeah,
now.
thank you for doing all that. I appreciate you. Anything else on that? That's my thoughts. Chief, you want to say anything? Are you good?
Mr. McLaurin, you did a good job.
Be hammered down Slay the whole time, you know?
Yeah, I'm beat down. Yes, sir, you and I'll talk. We'll talk. Thank you, Ms. Vance. Bless you. Okay. If there are no further comments, then what I would want to do, Daniel, with your permission, with permission of the president, is to note that we are continuing the public hearing on the nuisance consideration at 521 Holly Bush Road until October the 12th at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the motion.
That'd be my motion. Scott, Chad, y'all good with that?
Ms. Hall, that,
That's
my motion, Mr. Cross.
The reality is that that's on the record.
Second.
So we're not going to be sending you additional notice, okay? So October 12, 9 a.m. All right?
Yep. That's my motion then.
Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Onward, Mr. Slay. I guess that's you, Ms. Oster. Ms. Oster.
First item I have this morning is on our new Rankin County Courthouse facility, and it's approval of pay application number 15 to Chris Albritton Construction in the amount of $633,823.57 and authority to issue that check.
Motion, Mr. Cross. Second, Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. B, please, ma'am.
This is on the misdemeanor facility, and it's approval of pay application number 8 to Flagstar Construction Company in the amount of $218,241.60 and authority to issue that check.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Morrison. Second by Mr. Gaines. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Ms. Oster, anything else?
I do have two additions. The first addition I have is an interlocal agreement between the Rankin County Sheriff's Department and Rankin County School District. It's called the LEO School Law Enforcement Officers Program. The school will pay up to $50,000 per trained and certified officer for school safety. This is to place a deputy, certified deputy at the schools. Right now, the two that he has would be Oakdale and McLaurin Elementary. There could be other schools that will be added along.
Would you read that one more time? I mean, I don't know if I heard it right. I think I did.
Yes, so this is an interlocal between Rankin County Sheriff's Department and the Rankin County School District. They will pay up to $50,000 per trained and certified officer that will be placed in the school for safety purposes. These deputies will be under the complete purview of the sheriff. It'll work just like any other deputy. The school board will not control any of their actions. They will just reimburse us for straight time of officers to be placed in the school.
I like it a lot. Could we say for a long time, or is that for one? I mean, is that one payment? I would like for it to be
This,
forever.
50,000 would be annually, right?
Annual?
50,000 annual.
And it's not for all the, we have to keep, more or less, this is what we have in place. The deputies we have in place, we continue to pay for. These are the two schools in county that do not have a full-time deputy assigned to them. So this money initially is for the two deputies, so every school in the county will have a deputy
And
assigned
this is
full-time.
Oakdale and McLaurin,
Yeah,
correct?
I think, yeah, it's wonderful.
Where is it?
So when all this started though, we got federal funds to help pay for this.
Right, then y'all picked up the bill when the federal funds.
And that went away after how many years, 2 or 3?
Yeah, I can't remember, Lord, do you remember how long that federal fund was?
That
It's usually
includes,
3.
that
It's
includes
usually
salary
3
plus
years.
the retirement, I mean, that 50.
I think the 50 would be the complete package.
Right, all I
Yes.
would like to pick up, I think, and it was over my budget, is overtime.
Right.
And equipment, vehicles.
Overtime would be picked up by him.
Aside from the other umpteen you have already there.
Right, and that's gonna be an issue, because it's possible that I'm gonna have to take up 6 other positions.
That was one thing I was going to mention to you, Sheriff. I'd heard the same thing. I think you and I maybe talked about it for a second, that we may be losing some other resource officers out of some cities that you may have to pick up.
I'm trying to, and I don't wanna steal any glory from, this town, Dr. Townsend.
Well, I appreciate him stepping up and doing this part.
Yeah, this is a great thing, I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
But there's a possibility that some of the cities may participate in it, and I agreed on the front end of this to accept those positions.
You did?
We get the money.
We get $50,000.
No, I'm talking about the cities.
Yeah, but I'm gonna make it easy on the city, so let's just drop them, they'll pick it up.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying, these are just schools that don't have an officer in them already.
Oh,
This isn't replacing any officer that's out there already, these are schools that do not have a full-time officer.
Could get bigger.
And so if 6 city municipalities decide to quit putting officers there, we're gonna have to basically pull 6 officers out of our budget to pay for it.
No, they're gonna give us $50,000.
The school will pick those up also.
Right.
The school's going to pick up whatever
I
happens.
The only thing I would have is
His,
vehicles.
his deputies could go up.
yeah, but
School's
I
still
didn't
gonna pay
understand it
for it.
that way.
We
I-
will just,
I-
this is for the 2. We'll probably come back to you if there's any more to be added to.
Additionally, yeah.
Why would the city drop that if the school's paying it?
I don't know, but if we do take those, I might have to teach y'all, because I'd have to count and see how many that'd be. I may need another deputy just to cover those that are sick and off, because I'll have so many schools to cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I don't know why the, yeah, if they're paying it, why the school
Understand
didn't
why would
City.
they not participate?
Carrying them on payroll,
They're not wanting to.
insurance. I can think of a lot of reasons from a financial standpoint. The liability exposure, there's several reasons why they might decide this is too much, not enough juice for
And
the
I think they're
squeeze.
having that discussion at the points, what I'm saying. It just needs to be something in the back of our heads.
So, just thinking.
All I would
through
like to
it.
suggest at the time, whenever that does happen, for the record, you let us know which
definitely.
schools it is that drop out.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, nobody's dropping out because there's not a deputy there.
No, I'm talking about in the future.
Mhm.
If there's some decide not to participate, let us know who it is.
Yes.
Thank you,
I
Sheriff.
think Mr. Bishop's cooking something. I'm smelling it.
Well, yeah.
Is there a motion to add this to the agenda?
Yes.
Motion, Mr. Cross, second, Mr. Gaines, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Cross, second, Mr. Gaines, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion approves. Next.
I have
Ms.
one more
Oster.
item to add.
Hang on, Mr. Slay.
And that would be to reimburse John Guy, that's in our building department, for the residential building inspection test that was $209. He passed it. And so Renee is requesting that we reimburse him for that.
I make a motion we add it to the agenda. Second, Mr. Gaines, any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I'll make a motion to approve. Second, Mr. Morrison, any discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Next, Ms. Oster.
That's all I have.
Mr. Slay.
Yes, sir. One item to add, if you will allow it, is we have the ability now to act on establishment of just compensation for our Andrew Chapel Road project. And I've got Jim, well, I guess, I'm not really sure which Greg or Jim is going to handle this, but Jim Turner, Greg Thompson, with right of way. This is on Andrew Chapel, and we warned y'all that we were going to come forward and try to take these things in mass, and that's what's happening.
I need Cliff Notes.
I thought we were doing this in the executive.
That's quite a few parcels there, that's good.
These are easy, non-adversarial, this is a non-adversarial matter.
Is there a total somewhere?
Non-complex.
Yes, it's, I'll break this down.
148,000?
We've got 45 parcels impacted at this stage that we valued. This is in addition to the 8 that we've already valued that were priorities. These 45 parcels have been valued by IRO as waiver valuations. They're non-complex properties, less than $10,000 with no proximity damages or complex appraisal situations that would require a full appraisal. So these were valued on the waiver valuation, and that documentation's here.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do you actually ever go out and say, we're doing a project here to help your life safety, and we need this right away? You should not be paying for it, we shouldn't have to pay for it?
Every property owner is informed of their right to donate for the good of the county, and we do offer them the right to donate the property, and we offer them the opportunity to get a tax write-off for that donation. However, we are required to also inform them that it's their right for their right for public.
You'll tell them they can't get paid.
Yes.
Oh, so heaven forbid, man, yeah.
Well, you have it's.
Never get a donation then.
It is a requirement. It is a requirement of the U.S. Constitution to inform them of just compensation.
And we do occasionally get a donation.
We do. We get some donations.
Be sure to let us know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to put that gentleman in the Rankin County News.
Yeah. Get some accolades. This is the actual waiver documentation for these 45 parcels.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We need to put that on the agenda. I'm sorry. That was the motion put on the agenda.
All right.
I make a motion to approve. I'm
Second.
sorry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I make the motion to approve. Second by Mr. Morrison. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate the opportunity to work for you.
Comment, this represents like 145.
This is 45 parcels.
Oh, it's 45,
And,
not
so now we're at
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
$148,000. $148,000.
How many more or where are we at as far as
No.
what percentage are we to?
You've now got 53 out
Yeah,
of.
because there was 7 or 8 more.
Right.
53 out of-
Value.
These others are more complex.
We're starting from easy to hard.
Right.
We're going from the easy
Yeah.
ones to the hard
Yeah.
ones. And we're available after the meeting. We're gonna hang around and feel like if you'd like.
Give you a
to ask
breakdown.
A lot of specific, partial
Okay.
specific questions. We're
Yep. Okay.
available to you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Slay, anything else? Ms. Oster,
I got one
anything
thing.
else?
I got one thing. The veterans are doing that golf tournament. I saw it on my desk. I think we were
Veterans.
Huh?
Veterans, which group?
They're doing a golf tournament for Veterans Farm Fairs. And anyway, I didn't know if we wanted. It came up basically as a sponsorship. Y'all see it on your desk about the Veterans Golf Tournament?
But if you're gonna do that, might as well throw the school district in too. They got one coming up this month.
Oh, wait a minute, if you want all the golf course that I get hit up for, there's Kiwanis, the Pearl Chamber, Flowwood's here, Flowwood.
You're a good golfer though.
I'm a good payer, obviously.
Well, yeah, you may, okay, if you don't open that door, I just throwing it out there. I'm gonna sponsor myself, so. As an individual.
Well, we need to add one to the list then. That, by gosh, we need that one.
What's that?
John Sullivan,
Oh.
Texas.
Sir.
There's one follow-up that I'd like for us to talk about if y'all are interested.
Maybe not, depending on which topic is.
Sir?
Depending on the topic.
Yes, this is actually a follow-up on the discussion about projects under the MPO. And that's what I wanted to, let's retrace some ground there. I've got Tim coming we just need y'all's feedback, and we need to get some sort of direction here on exactly which projects it is we want to try to focus on and try to justify those,
In
okay?
order for us to get some type of traction, we need to know specifics. Like
Okay.
what qualifies, what doesn't qualify, what our odds are, what helps present our case as far as percentages.
Okay, let's talk about that, and we'll kind of just walk through what we've talked about previously, and then we'll kind of recap all that. We mentioned Spillway Road potentially overlaying from Grants Ferry to 471. That's a pavement management project, pretty straightforward, no right-of-way issues, anything like that. That's a pretty straightforward project there. Now, where it qualifies, what the odds of getting it, I mean, all those are going to be based on a pavement management index of the road, and so we don't know what the other, that's going to be the most competitive category of all.
All right.
And unfortunately, most of our projects are going to fall in that category. The reason being, congestion mitigation is a category. And in talking with CMPDD, pretty much, if you're not in the 2030 transportation plan under congestion mitigation with a I think it's a CMS index number, you're not going to qualify. And that would be adding like a third lane to something. That's not necessarily like a widening of a trench widening and overlay. It's not something like that. It's a true addressing congestion. So we've looked through that. We can't find anything that there's in the 2030 transportation plan. If there is something you're interested in doing, we need to get it in that plan for the next round of funding.
So what does that mean necessarily? What would happen out of that plan? They would get an overlay and
No. That's just a broad umbrella of what should happen in the 2030 by 2030 in that plan.
Okay.
So they've identified areas of congestion where you might be adding a new road or a third lane or something like that.
Okay.
And there's a list in that plan that have actually been rated, and there's nothing that we can find that the county has.
Not in it.
No.
What about on the North Shore Parkway area? I know we're fixing to have 200 homes over there.
I don't think it's, when I was talking through it with CMPDD, we couldn't find anything congestion mitigation that was gonna,
But we're really not wanting to add a third lane.
No. I'm just going through all the categories. You want to kind of touch on everything, so I'm just saying really that.
All right, so that's one category is congestion.
Congestion mitigation, in our opinion, we don't have any projects for that.
All right, okay. How much money was associated with that?
Let's see. I've got it right here. I think it's, congestion mitigation was $8 million.
So what was the total, 14?
The total's 29
Yeah.
29 is the total?
of everything.
Okay.
Right, everything.
All right, so, safety improvements, that's, traffic signalization type projects. The project that we talked about there was potentially a, traffic signal at where the new Shaggy's is going in on Spillway Road, because there's some, I think the soccer complex doesn't line up exactly, but there's two median cuts there and potential. Now, the issue with that is in order to get a traffic signal in this application process, you have to, MDOT has to approve your warrant for a signal. We have no warrant for a signal there right now. And you can't just do a warrant study because traffic's not functioning. No, traffic's not functioning. It's not open, so you don't have the turning movements. But here's what you can do. And there's we're working with another municipality that's doing the same thing down at Florence. They're doing one also. You can do a traffic impact analysis, which basically they'll take data of what projected is going to happen with Shaggy's and the soccer fields and all, and they'll project the movements. That would take us to the next step. The issue with that is we can't have it by the 26th. But the process which CMPDD reviews these things obviously takes a considerable amount of time to go through all these projects. They have said you can submit the project and be in the process of doing that traffic impact analysis. As long as you get that traffic impact analysis in fairly quickly, that's a 6 to 8 week type study, $10,000 to $15,000.
Have we discussed this with PRV?
I have.
I have not.
I have. I spoke to them.
Are they willing to participate?
I think so. Yeah. the people I talked to, I haven't gotten to Susan McMullen and all them yet, but I've talked to people on the board, so.
Will they be willing to participate?
I think so.
I mean, there's,
I'll know
I
sure.
don't think there's matching on any of that. I think that's all 100%.
It can be, well, it can be
yeah,
100%, but if you match, then that actually, that's a 10%, that's 10% of the evaluation is if you're matching,
Yeah.
what percentage you're matching. So anytime you match, even
Match
if
gonna
it
give you
can be
a little step
100%,
up.
you're gonna move your project up.
But also the dual agency combination helps, right?
Yeah, well, it's not outlined in that one, it's only outlined in the traffic congestion mitigation,
Right.
but in my opinion, it's gotta help some if you're partnering with somebody to do it. I mean, just saying that, hey, we're working with this other entity to do it is going to, I mean, these are gonna be, they're gonna be reviewed by human beings, they're not, it's not all
Yeah.
robotic,
I
so,
mean, common sense should prevail somewhere.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other.
Well, if that's true, we do have 2 board members on there, you know?
Right. Oh, that was just so funny. I swear.
You're
Hey,
such
he
a
talking
foul.
about me and you.
Nope.
Well, we told you, if you add to it, it puts you bumps you up the list.
Now, the safety, just so you'll know, Jay, the safety improvements, that's $5 million
Okay, total.
total.
What
So that-
ballpark does this
That's
cost
not
for
much
adding a
going
light
on.
there?
You
Type
probably,
of work.
I'm on
I mean, just a rough number.
$500,000 minimum, something like that. The other type is the pavement management criteria, or excuse me, the pavement management option. That's going to be the one that is the most sought after, and that's the one we were talking about Spillway Road being in.
Yeah.
That's also where any other road project that the county has now would fall into that category. The issue with road projects is acquisition of right-of-way is a big issue with these because you're on a pretty tight time frame to get these projects done. So if you got a lot of right-of-way to purchase, that's an issue.
Well, Tim, that's kind of where that Spillway Road, finishing it on up,
Right.
piggybacking off this project here, takes it all the way to 471. You don't have an acquisition.
Right, yeah, no, exactly. So that one, I mean, a lot of what's going to be submitted in the pavement is going to be overlays. That probably, I'm going to say 95% of the projects in that category are going to be overlays.
I thought they were all overlaid.
No, they don't have to be. In talking to CMPDD, a road project can go in there. It can go into, if you've got an existing alignment, you can talk about Luckney, Andrew Chapel, Gunner. The issues become, if you talk about, I'll use Andrew Chapel and Gunner because they're fairly far down the path so far. You're using federal criteria for these projects, which means now you could be potentially talking about 8-foot shoulders. If you're doing curb and gutter, you got an extra, because part of Gunner, that tight ears curb and gutter, you got to add an extra 2 foot of lane width because your shoulder has to be inside your curb. So you're potentially going back and purchasing additional right-of-way. And potentially those projects could become very expensive, and I'm not saying it couldn't be done, but you know Jared on Gunner and Steve, Andrew Chapel, you're already.
We're already doing all of our right of way according to what LPA standards were.
Understand the difference between acquiring the right of way by the federal standard and designing a road project by the
Right.
federal standard. Those are 2 different things. We acquire all of our right of way using the federal act, which means all the I's have been dotted, all the T's have been crossed, and we're not going to get hammered trying to put federal funds on a project where we couldn't certify that they were approved, that those right-of-ways were acquired under the act.
So we bought the right of way according to the standards, we just didn't do the design according to the standards.
Right.
That's correct. You hit it.
Well, then
It is
why-
designed to
who
a
bothered?
standard, it's not designed to that federal standard, because there again,
It meets the right.
12-foot lanes and 8-foot shoulders on Gunner or Andrew Chapel is, I'm not saying impossible, but it's, now you're into retaining walls and your cost has gone up considerably. Luckney is more in an infant stage. There hasn't been any right-of-way acquisition
that I'm aware of, unless the city has
And
done
no
something.
improvements at all to it.
That's right.
My understanding there was it was going to a curb and gutter because they already have the existing right of way with the existing bed. That's why they put the sewer out there in the front
Right.
people's yards to keep it out of the street, obviously. But if a reconstruct was coming on Lutney, it'd stay within the existing road bed on a curb and gutter type deal.
So
It'd
what
be
I think-
cheaper to do it that way than go to the shoulders, because there are several homes out there that would be impacted. So that was their consensus.
Without having done a physical survey out there, the curb and gutter under the federal guidelines is still going to be wider than the existing road bed there.
Well,
Yeah.
besides that, we've done no design, and we haven't started any right of way. We at least
My
have
saying
the
is they
design done.
may not need the right of way. They may, I don't know, Wagner looked at it about 4 years ago, and it kind of all fell apart, and then I don't know what the city did when they did their sewer project out there.
So what I'm hearing, unless I'm totally misunderstanding, is that Lutney could be in play.
No.
Just not with federal dollars.
You're not hearing that from me.
Yeah. But I think what I'm saying is that it can't be in play here with this, because this is federal funds. And we don't, I think what we're saying is we don't likely have adequate right-of-way in hand now to construct that project using federal funds.
Well, that's all we're talking about now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't see that Lutney could be in play at all on this discussion.
I mean, you can throw it in there, but I don't see how it can be, from what you're saying.
Yeah, based on what I've
So,
heard.
can you finish up, Tim? Are you through?
Tim,
Yeah.
what's your, I mean, you're the engineer on Lutney. Where are you at on that? Could it or could it not?
It could be. The issue with Lutney, and I don't know where the city is on, I know they moved to water, they moved some utilities a few years back. I don't know if they acquired right of way to do that, got easements. I don't know the impacts of what happened there. But I do know this, if we've got to go in and buy a bunch of right of way, timing, I mean, you guys know how long it takes to get one of these projects done. Not in the LPA process.
Can we?
Now,
Can we do-
these are going through the LPA process.
If we're gonna be
so-
buying right away,
Can-
that's in the city.
It's not gonna, can we do this? I mean, I know that would be a city thing.
Yeah.
And you don't have but just days before you gotta get this submitted.
Absolutely.
Not holding anything else up, can you touch base with the city's engineer and their people and see if they already have the right of way, if the
Right.
utilities are out of the way,
Right.
if it would be a clean, because that would be a partnership.
Right.
And
The only
it's
thing-
only a short, I mean, we just see if it would work.
The thing is, though, I'm sure with Butch being on board, he's already looking at this.
Well, that may,
level.
and he may be
You
planning.
know, that's something part of it.
I don't know, I have not
He's got
spoken to anybody.
plans, But that ain't one of
You
them,
don't
I
think
bet.
that it's,
Huh?
I haven't spoken with anybody.
well, let's just do.
But
Let's
here's
just-
where we are. Let me just kind of give you a time frame on it. Obviously, all these got to be done by the 26th.
Yeah.
And there's a fairly extensive application that goes with it. We can handle that. But what will have to be done is at the October 12th meeting, the board will have to pass a resolution for each project. So if we can get a direction between, we can be ready. We don't have to have the application completed then. We'll have to pass we'll have to basically designate which projects it is.
Well, I'd let Brandon handle the Luckney deal. I mean, that's, he's
Or
on the
reason
board.
I'm saying no is
Huh?
simply because we have 3 committed projects already, 4 actually, that we're about to spend a good bit of county coffers on. You know, we already got Gunner Road, we got Andrew Chapel, Gunner Road Extension, and the sewer drain, the $1 million project in my district. So, you know, that's all money already coming out of our coffers.
Well, so what you're trying to see if you get one of those in there?
I don't think we are. Basically, what
Yeah.
Tim's saying, the
That's
only
what I'm
one I
saying.
think that we probably could qualify is Gunner Road, but then we're gonna go back and redesign it.
Yeah, you're going to have some vertical challenges there too, vertical alignment challenges where with those guidelines, you have to use some 4-to-1 slopes where 3-to-1 is obviously fine on what I call a regular project. We're going to be back buying additional right-of-way on Gunner Road if we went that route. I can just
What are
about.
we talking about Gunner Road project cost total? I mean,
As is or
huh?
right now?
Well, I mean, if we go,
As is.
huh?
As is or with the future?
I don't know if we're talking about doing it to federal standards, or are we trying to back off if we don't get any MPO funding to help and it falls back totally in our lap. I mean, we just really haven't talked total construction costs. Like, the $5 million figure's always been out there. However, I suspect that we're far past that.
And that's the number that sticks in my mind, Mr. Bob. I haven't seen any estimate. I would need to ask Chris. I don't know the answer to that, but I still think we're in that range. I don't think we're considerably
What I've
surpassed
heard
that.
within that, we're in that range, and quite possibly could be a little bit under.
Because, I mean, Edmund has done a good bit of work on Grants Ferry Extension Parkway and stuff like that, and there will be some relevant numbers there on road construction and what the Grants Ferry people have paid. I'm just curious. I mean, we're blowing and going on by it right away, but I don't know where all this money's gonna come from to do the actual job.
That's what I was saying. I mean, if we start adding more jobs, that's a match we gotta put up, you know?
Yeah.
So, but go ahead and finish. what you were
Well, I mean,
saying.
that kind of wraps up where that wraps up where we are, unless y'all want to add something else to it. I mean, that's
If we can get one of these larger projects and focus on it and get 50 or 60% or maybe 70, the money we don't spend, that we don't have to come out of our pocket there, can go to one of these projects we already have also. I mean, I think we should fight for something.
Right.
For one of us. I mean,
But I guess choosing the one.
You know,
I mean, we need to decide which one
You understand
that we think we may have the best chance for.
If we,
I know we got to spend more on that one, but if you got one.
yeah, so it's not really saving us anything. If we're already gonna complete the ones we already have voted to move forward on, and if we add another.
No, I'm not talking about adding another one. Find one of them the best
Oh,
one we
oh,
have,
oh.
the one that we can switch over the most economical.
I think he's trying to tell you in a nice way, Andrew Chapel ain't gonna cut it because
Well,
we don't have right of way.
I've already been told that. I know that.
All right.
I'm aware of that.
Okay.
I'm just looking at the whole
So
county.
really,
If
the
there's
only one that
one,
qualifies is Gunner Road,
Well-
and then that's gonna be so much more money, cause then we got to turn around and redesign it.
That's what I was.
Buy more right of way.
And you're well down the road on right of way
Yeah, you can
acquisition
go
on
back and see
Gunner.
these guys, these people again, I don't know.
We can't reopen that door. Nope.
What did it even qualify?
all right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a collector. Yeah. It's a collector. Andrew Chapel's a collector.
Okay.
Luckney.
Luckney is actually considered a minor arterial, which is even a bigger road, but
Well, if we
obviously
wanna
has
drop
bigger
a
standards.
project, we can do Luckney, you know, if we
What's
wanna
that?
drop a project we're already doing, we can do Luckney.
Maybe not.
Just an idea, you know, if y'all really wanna do that.
What was that sewer project?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I wish, man, but I'm sorry, but it's already in the ground.
Conveniently so, huh? Jeff?
Conveniently, that's why he would say
It may not
something
be
like
too many
that.
pieces, but it's already in the ground. Man.
That's coming from the one guy that
I want
voted
to
against
ask
the
you,
tax.
another entity is doing an overlay project, but they are getting a little width to the road added, like a foot. How are they doing that?
Okay, you can, I mean, under the pavement management, you could do that. You could trench widen, which is better. The county's done that in the past. The one that comes to my mind is North Shore Parkway several years ago was done, not as an LPA project, but we did a trench widening project on it and an overlay. Increase the lane width and
that way you have no acquisition of right of way.
right. But you still have standards you got to go by, and I don't know what road it is, but there's in MDOT's manual, and keep in mind we're using the MDOT manual for all this. That's where the federal kicks in. So you've got 3R projects, which are projects that pretty much exist where you're widening something like that. Most of these pavement managements would be 3R type projects. Unfortunately, the Andrew Chapels, the Gunner Roads, you're changing some vertical alignment, you're adjusting horizontal alignment, you're reconstructing the whole road. The road is bad, the pavement there that's sitting now is bad, so it becomes a reconstruction project. Well, MDOT, you flip the page for reconstruction projects, and that's where your shoulders get even wider, your lanes get wider, that kind of thing. So,
Gunner Road had been a good project for that. Before we started all this.
there's the west end of Gunner would be tough under this. You'd have retaining wall. You'd have a lot more features than you're going to have now.
That's where the houses are close to the road.
The houses are close to the road, and it's very hilly and a lot of steep vertical curves and steep banks on the sides, and you've got businesses. No. We're fine under our design now, but I'm saying if it went under this criteria, you're moving out.
You're talking about the overlay?
No, I'm talking about Gunner Road. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the overlay. Yeah.
The overlay.
Yeah.
You'd still have to buy. You'd have
With
to
trenching, he said. which would give you an extra, how much? width?
Yeah, now Gunner is
I'm
like
not talking Gunner, I'm
Oh.
talking about the overlay with what you call trenching.
trench widening.
What
Yeah.
he said,
Widening.
I think
How
he's
much
talking.
width does that give you on the road?
Well, generally, you add a foot to 18 inches.
Okay.
I mean, if you lay, I don't remember what North Shore was, and it's been several years ago. That was actually done as a state aid
But you
project.
gotta have some type of shoulder to work with.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean,
Where most
that
of the
was,
ones we're working on don't have any shoulder.
what
They just
happened
hold.
there was you had North Shore Parkway, which was a state aid road that had plenty of right of way.
Right.
Well, because as the traffic counts got higher and higher, it justified wider lanes. So the project was to widen the lanes, which you also added a foot to the shoulders, but it's a state aid project, so you already had plenty of right of way. Then you overlaid. So now you took probably an 11-foot road, 3-foot shoulder, something like that, and made it 12 and 4, 12 and 5.
Well, you and I and Bob sitting there, we should skip going. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, when all we started all this, I really thought we might come out ahead by being able to commit 50% to a project, and that way we'll have a little extra to go, like do Spillway Road.
Right.
But the way it sounds now, we're just going to end up spending more money on whatever project we do on top of all of our other projects we have going. Am I understanding that right?
I understand where we're at, but we don't need to get caught like this next funding.
Right.
We need to be preparing
Right.
3 years out.
Right.
But when did they announce this money though, Jared? I mean, it wasn't that, we didn't have a
No,
whole lot
they
of
didn't give
work
us a
down
well
here
window,
to
and the
be
reason,
prepared
because
for
we
it,
looked
like
at
you're
that, we
being
thought,
Yeah.
because I remember we looked at it and we thought, look, it's almost like they're fixing it for a certain, area to be able to qualify more for.
Well, we didn't find out about it until we walked in here and they had a
Right.
public hearing here that day.
So
About 2 months.
to address what your situation there is, when the dust settles from this one, immediately you start looking to the future, like Mr. Gaines is talking about, and seeing what roads do we want to do, and you go ahead and start that process under the federal. Because you can always come back and pull it in if you don't get federal funding.
Yeah, what it means is we
Excuse
go
me,
ahead and buy all
you
the
could,
right
lessen the need for right of way.
Well, just please touch base with Butch and the city and see if they're interested in doing even the overlay part.
Monterey Road from,
You know,
from
something.
where it stopped all the way on out to, on out.
They don't have a
It's
show.
not the PO area, is it? It's not the PO area, is it?
I don't know.
I
That's
think
what-
I have it,
Yeah.
Mike asked me
I'm
about that. I think we
I'm
moved that.
thinking in order for us to have any shot whatsoever, for
Pearson,
submitting Andrew
all the
Chapel
way out
and
to-
throwing as much
We'll
money as we
fix it to
possibly
get
can.
screwed big time because. of
Andrew
how-
Chapel.
Is there more than a 50% match?
You talking about Spillway?
Yeah.
Open up that area when they get done with 49 extension.
You talking about Spillway
That's
Road?
gonna-
No, I'm
You talking
talking
about
about
Chapel?
Andrew Chapel.
They told me Andrew Chapel.
All the way up to 469.
Hey, you don't think we,
Behind there.
because we don't have right of way, you think Andrew Chapel
Well, no.
won't be
At least two right
considered?
now.
Well, what we've
No,
designed.
it'll be considered.
Least.
But what I'm concerned about is now that, I don't know how many people they've actually talked to about right of way, we may have to go back to them and say, hey, we needed 5 feet, now we need 10.
Oh,
That's a
okay,
band-aid.
never mind, all right, so I thought that was
You're
for
gonna have to
Monterey,
do
that's for
something.
both.
No, Gunner, to me, from the engineering perspective, Andrew Chapel and Gunner Road are in the same condition.
Well, why are we, it makes no sense whatsoever to me for us to be buying this right of way this way then.
Well,
That's for another day, never mind, I'm
why does it
sorry.
make no sense to buy the right of way?
Take your mind off of how much we're getting
Yeah, it's not.
and put it on how we're getting it.
I get it, I understand.
Well, you're
But I
saying
still
not buy
don't
the
agree with
federal.
I think the amount, the width of the right of way is okay. It's the design that's within that because they have to have wider shoulders.
Right.
And then we would have to come back and bubble the road out. It'd be some changes in design, which could lead to having to buy some more right of way and stuff.
Right.
And the lower end, there's several homes that we're already gonna have to address.
Right.
And it would
Right.
mean several more.
What- Can I ask our road manager what road he thinks needs the most repair? Mike, not to put you on the spot.
But
We need one road, obviously, we're not gonna get any of our reconstruction projects, paid for. And if we are gonna be spending money pretty soon, forget Daniel sitting there. If we're gonna be spending money in our upcoming budget on an overlay project that will qualify, which one would that be?
Is Monterey on
Spillway
the
Road. Spillway.
Monterey should be a collector. I hadn't looked specific at it, but it's got to. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did look at it. Yeah, it's a collector.
worse than, worse than the, Spillway Road?
Or Andrew Chapel?
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, you got spillway, I mean, I thought we were gonna do it in the overlay project though.
Are you asking about overlay?
I think that's all we got left is overlay, Mike. That's what I'm talking about, overlay. That's the only thing we got left is overlay.
Well, that'd be spillway road.
Hey, all right, let's go on the next topic then. There you go. You said
I gotta
spillway.
do that, we already knew that one. We're talking about for the future.
Yeah, there we go.
We're talking about present or future?
We talking about what we can apply for next week.
Yeah, 'cause you
Spillway Road.
get most all of it.
Spillway Road.
That
All
comes
right.
out, that you're the only area that qualify for.
Because I mean, we don't have to
Has
do no
been.
right of way.
Yeah.
We could widen it a foot on each side.
Well,
if we
yeah,
wanted
but
to.
you don't have
It's
to.
wide enough.
Yeah, it's wide.
Yeah.
It's plenty wide.
Well, I'm definitely not for going adding another project that we have to go buy right away for, do engineering for, just to try to get
Mine's
another
easy.
project.
But I think in the future, you're gonna have to look at some of these main throughways we got that don't have no shoulders, Jay, and be ready for the next 4 years, you know.
Well, let me tell you what has to happen in order for that to take place. We have to do a design and we have to buy right away.
Right.
All
Well,
right.
we really were kind of getting in that area with the extension, and we did get some help though. So.
Yeah, that's gonna be kind of sketchy, because isn't that part of the BP fund?
Nothing sketchy about it, it's sitting there.
Well, I mean, the way they pay it out, they have up to 15 years over time to pay it off. There's no, right now, there's no, like, here we're gonna write Rankin County a check for the whole project.
And then let us apply for this extension
Yeah.
or under the MPO project.
The issue with the new road is that falls under the congestion mitigation.
Well,
I hope so.
for that?
Yeah, but we're not in that, we're not in the 2030 transportation plan with Gunner Road
Ah,
extension.
Gotcha. All right, never mind. So it doesn't qualify. All right. So we're back to overlay and a light project.
We're gonna have this.
Beautiful.
Am I
It's worked out like I hope.
by myself and thinking
I'm
that?
100% with you.
What are we talking about now?
Yep.
So you're down
Spillway.
to Spillway overlay, you're down to the light at Shaggy's, and as the two primary application projects that we really need to identify for Tim so that they can proceed to get the application in place.
But it doesn't look like we got anything else.
Realistically,
I think,
Tim,
Tim, how many would you think we would be?
Yeah.
So rather than
I
saying
do.
We
we
can
can
survive
spend
with
it.
one or two.
Two, probably, yeah. I mean, the issue, if you look at the scoring, there's probably gonna be a lot of them that are really, really close together, probably a lot of ties. So I can't sit here and tell you that there again, we have the human aspect in it, and
All right,
if,
so what is the,
I
what's
think a
the
couple.
criteria on judging, overlay projects?
You've got a pavement management index rating, which is already done. That's something CMPDD provides for the road. You've got requested funding, percentage of the total funds, and you've got local match is 10%. The match is not 10%, but 10% of the scoring is your local match.
Depending on how much.
And in the pavement management, Jay, I think you can go up to 50%. I think.
We talked about in the meeting.
Yeah, it scores from 0 to 10, and if you have 50% or greater local match for the whole project, you get a 10, and it just goes down from there, 45, 40, 35, down to
You know,
20%
I'll be
local
honest,
match.
I rode, Spill Road the other day. I ain't so sure we couldn't do that, micro on it. Do you think that we need asphalt?
I think you need asphalt on just because of the amount of traffic.
Well, micro's being put on state aid roads. I mean,
The Spillway
like 469,
Road.
I mean, state highway.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike?
You got a section there, you'd have to do like we did over, you'd have to do a scrub seal.
All right. What about Gunner Road? I mean, what's that other road cuts up there?
Grants Ferry?
Grants Ferry. What about Grants Ferry?
It's cracked too bad.
No,
It's beat
would
up.
it not qualify?
Oh, I don't know. Would it qualify then?
I haven't looked at
It
it
bad. I know
specifically.
it
It's fixing to be done next week.
Oh,
Well, Grants Ferry fixing to be done.
never mind. I'm trying to save us a little money.
Well,
Saying all we
we
do
didn't
is spend it
qualify.
more.
I can't imagine it not being a collector. I don't have the maps in front of me, but I
If they
can't imagine.
qualify, I might wanna think about that.
It can't make it.
Why?
How long we have to wait? 2 years?
Huh?
Can't make it 6 more
What's the
months.
process
Oh,
of this?
probably
How,
so.
what's the link?
There's
for
no
their-
way.
Ain't a road out to that thing.
It's an LPA project.
Huh?
Oh, it's an
driven down?
LPA
Yeah, these will be
project?
LPA projects.
Never mind. All right.
You know how many cars are on that sucker?
I'd be fair.
So you
It's
know if it
LPA
saves that kind of
project.
money.
No way.
It's
All right,
But they're gonna
we
try to
need
hold you to a
come
4-year
consensus here
window.
on something. What do we need to come to consensus on, Mr. Slade?
I think what I've
We got
heard
another
is
meeting
we've sort of
before we have to
settled that
approve it.
We can't identify any
No, we
overlay
don't.
project that's gonna work for us.
No, we don't. The 12th is it. That's our next meeting.
Yeah, we need a resolution together. So one of the reasons why we're really hard timing y'all about getting to a decision is we need to have paperwork in front of you on the 12th.
Yeah.
That allows us to pass a resolution. So I'm hearing that we can't identify an overlay project that will work under the guidelines, whatever the timing doesn't work. So it sounds like what we're down to is the Spillway Road overlay and the light at Shaggy's as being the two projects that we need to get into the hopper in front of MPO for scoring.
Honestly, I don't think we're gonna get any of them.
One last question.
Put it in there the
On
way it's
the,
working.
on the Gunner Road, since we are that far along, knowing we'd have to go back and redesign it and buy right of way, how much money we adding to the project?
It's, in my opinion, right now, it's not going to be tens of thousands, it's gonna be more.
Well, I figured that.
Because of the design criteria.
I mean, if we can save $2 million, that's
Right.
$2 million we can spend somewhere else.
Right. I don't know the answer to that without looking at it on paper, running through and seeing what it's gonna do to the typical section.
Well, you're thinking, I mean, just throw a big number out there.
I mean, I know this, because, you know, Chris Bass is the project engineer on that one. And I sat down and talked to him about it, and his initial response was no way. We talked a little bit more and talked him off the cliff, but it's, I mean, that was his initial response. And Chris knows the LPA as good as anybody in our office. But I think you're probably talking.
You're adding.
Well, what we don't wanna do is go spend $1 million and not get awarded anything.
Right.
There you go.
I mean, we could,
But we wouldn't have to do that. All we have to do is submit it as a project, and if we get awarded, then we can go spend the design and buy the right of way. The only thing I was asking.
submit both of them in.
Depending on how much money we're gonna spend additional, how much, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
how much is gonna be additional,
Right.
because we're already committed to doing the road.
Right.
And if we can, you know, get $2 or $3 million, well, that's $2 or $3 million that we won't have to spend somewhere else.
I agree.
we come out
If
with
it's,
we come out with a net
if it can be
gain,
done.
it might be worth
Right.
it.
Yeah, let me make sure that we're clear about what we're talking about here. You've already acquired right-of-way on Gunner, just about to the end, okay? We're almost finished with that. You're talking about essentially starting that process all over again. Why? Because you gotta do all the title work again. We knew what the title was when we acquired it. We gotta go back and make sure we haven't run afoul, there hasn't been a change in ownership. You got redo of all title work. You've got to get those guys, right-of-way guys, back out and talk to those people, some of whom will be the same ones that we've had to spend months dealing with already. School district is gonna have to be re-punched up. They've got so many parcels out there that we're having to deal with. We've already made a deal with the church on exactly what right-of-way is being transferred from them to us, from us to them. All of that gets to be
Nursing
redone
home
all
also.
over again. Just understand that some of the costs that we're talking about being increased are costs that you've already sunk.
That sounds mighty complicated. Look at Andrew Chapel.
Yeah. Y'all gotta make that decision,
I don't-
but you need full
if-
information. It's gonna
Well,
be a
Andrew
big
Chapel.
number.
If it's not gonna cost us anything other than paying your time to apply, not as an overlay, as a collector or whatever you called it.
Right, it would still be under the pavement management,
Pavement,
but it's a reconstruct, we
Yeah.
know that, I mean.
If it's other than the cost of the application, and it doesn't bind us that if we do not get funded, we don't have to go back and buy any more right of way or do any different design if we don't get funded, do we? We can go
Correct.
back to our original.
That is correct.
And we're gonna know by when? When will we know that we're getting funded or we're not?
I'm guessing those announcements will be made sometime after the first of the year. Probably, I can't speak for CMPD, but I'm guessing late January or February.
Well, this is no different at all from what you're talking about in Gunner Road. Because we're still.
Yes, it
going-
is.
No, it's not in terms of.
Gunner Road is not in my district.
Okay, well, that's it. That's the only
Well,
difference.
he's talking about,
That
he's
is
talking
the
about
only
they,
difference.
he's talking about they hadn't gotten that much, they're
We
not
had,
that far
well,
right
and
away.
we hadn't made deals with churches and things of park, I mean, the park.
I'm just simply asking,
They
I
hadn't-
wanna know what's the difference in the cost. Gunner, Andrew Chapel, either one, I wanna know what's gonna be the difference in the cost.
Right.
And I can't answer that
Well,
statement
you
here.
can
I
answer on the
apologize.
design, can't you?
How much additional design fee it's gonna cost?
Well, you know what you paid, what we paid you to design Andrew Chapel currently, right?
Right.
Well, then go back and design it for, tell us what it'll cost you to design it for.
That's what he's saying, if it was
project.
designed the other way, how much would you add to that? If you're gonna design it for the federal
That's what I'm trying to clear up. In the design fee or in the construction of it?
design.
Design.
But it's,
Well, I
it's
mean,
two different numbers though, isn't it? You're still gonna have an increase on construction because the design's
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
you
the
gotta have-
construction's the
you gotta
big
have-
number, the design fee's not, I mean, the
construction
design
is what
fee
you're
is,
looking
is,
I just wanna know if we're gonna get bang for our buck.
What he's saying, design is not gonna take the problem, the construction be additional.
Do you have to design it before you know that you're gonna get?
no,
What we
but
do.
what we've gotta do is, between now and the 26th, we've gotta be able to tell them, we've gotta answer questions about right-of-way acquisition, utility relocations and things like that, that we've gotta know how far out we're going. We didn't even really touch on utility relocations.
I think
Gunner
I'm
may
ask-
require some additional utility relocations,
I mean,
and all those are what's gonna score you. And here's the meat of the coconut is CMPDD wants the projects that score the fastest and can be constructed the fastest, and those two are equal almost as to which ones can you get the money spent the fastest on.
One other thing on Andrew Chapel that is similar to what I just told you about the Gunner project is this: you've already got 8 parcels that are in place along the box culvert reconstruction
Yeah.
that you've already authorized, and that work is heavily proceeding quickly.
The boxes will be at the 26th.
Yes, and so
That would
I
change.
have some real concern.
I'd have to stay like this.
Yeah, so is that?
You know what she told
Well,
us?
we'll have to look at
We've
that.
been here,
Yeah.
neither one of them qualify.
Yeah, so
She was
She's right.
Yeah.
so that it's clear, this box culvert that's being bid, that we will open the bid on the 26th, it's possible that it would not comply with the federal reg that he's just told y'all about under this design standard.
Right.
So you got 8 parcels that are already locked down, plus a box culvert that's out for bid in the project already, that may have to be a redo. So you gotta add that all in there, okay?
Why are we talking about this? We don't have anything else.
I'm asking again, and essentially saying the same thing again. It sounds to me like we hope we've got, we wish we had some overlay that we could stick in here and shoot for getting some funding on. But it
Spillway.
sounds like the
Spillway
two
and the
projects
light.
are the spillway and the light. And I'm just trying to help our engineer know what do they need to be working on and what do I need to be preparing for
Daniel,
resolution.
congratulations on getting reelected. Yeah, I could use some help.
I wish you could vote for
I
it.
could use some help when it
I
gets
swapped
that time.
districts with you.
How much money you got in your little drainage fund over there? $2 million?
$1 million, please. We're gonna spend more down that overlay on it, on Millway Road. Probably on just the match.
How much? What's the square mile? You don't even have square miles in Upper County in your district.
I
We're
can't
talking
get
about
a little
blocks
ditch.
of land.
I got 300 homes about to fall in a ditch over here. I can't get nothing done about.
You shouldn't even be sitting at the table with this discussion. You should be
Wherever.
All right, let's do something. Let's move forward. What we need to do? We ready?
We just need y'all to get comfortable with what to tell these guys to go get busy doing.
And the only caveat to that would be on the traffic signal, we need to authorize the traffic impact analysis.
What does that cost?
I'm 10 to 15.
I think you're a waste of money and a waste of time, because I feel like they're gonna find something out there that's an existing problem as opposed to what a potential problem down the road. But hey,
I agree with you, but I'm just saying.
But you never know. I mean,
It's
The only
worth
thing I'll say
trying.
about that is it's small enough project that it may sneak in there, so that one's small enough, get it in there. If you show them you're working with PRV on that, you got letters from PRV, you got the additional political, you got the political pressure that helps with 2 political subdivisions asking for the same project. So I like that one as a possibility. I do.
So Mike, when would you plan on overlaying Spillway Road?
Probably next year.
All right.
I got some sections that'll have to be done.
Spillway Road's it. How much of a match are we willing to put toward?
That's helpful to know.
What do you think it's gonna cost?
Still
What do
where
you,
to
what do you
where?
think the cost?
Spillway Road?
Hugh Ward, 471?
No, Spillway is Grants Ferry to Fort Sill.
Grants Ferry is 471, that's right.
I'm-
We'll already cover the other part.
Yeah, guessing.
Will we go all the way to Grants Ferry under our current project?
No, we'll go to
No,
Hugh
no,
Ward, but then we've got some plans on that. So this is starting Grants Ferry up.
Oh, wait a minute, you already got some plans.
Well, it's only,
You already got some
it's not even a mile. It's probably
When
a
you
quarter
go
mile.
from the center on them plans?
Soon. Soon. Real soon.
To do what?
To fix it.
Oh, my God.
What is he? I'm sorry,
I
Jay,
don't
what is
remember
he?
the numbers.
He was
I've
talking
been
about
quick
away.
gander. It's probably half a
You
million
should
bucks,
have paid
maybe
attention.
$600,000, something like that, for the overlay. How much? I think it's about $500,000 to overlay. I mean, the whole
That's
project.
pretty good, Daniel.
What is he up to?
Milling in there.
Right.
We know, never mind.
But it's not, none of that will work for micro.
I mean, some of it could, Jared, but I mean, some of it's got to be milled up if something going too far.
Yeah, but I'm just asking, because
It's in rough shape.
the
I
micro,
rode it the other day, it's got cracks in it, so, I mean, it looked like something needs to be done.
Well, we're talking about
Right.
building, let's go ahead and approve Mike's building machine.
really?
Boy, dead silence on that one, huh?
No, I'm the one who brought it up the first time,
I like Steve.
the last time.
Once we see the numbers it compares, that's what I want to see.
I don't know what project to tell you. I think the red lights are shot in the dark.
What are you talking about, Rick?
But I think most of these projects that we're talking about, I think this whole thing basically is the design, or the way they, the criteria. Our Hines County people are gonna be at top of the list on 99% of it. And, but, so I kind of skeptical to put too much money in something, plan it, but, I mean, they're sitting on what they're sitting on. But,
We're not gonna have any expense on this except for traffic count, right? And you guys.
And the cost of us putting the application together.
Yeah.
yeah, well, I say
So
the small,
what is our amount of money we're willing to put in it for a match?
Percentage.
I don't know what you're talking about it cost.
We said half a
What does it
million.
take to get
Well,
this
and I will say
10%?
this, Jay, we can revisit that at the 12th. The resolution just sets the project.
Okay, we'll
At the
find out.
at the 12th,
Yeah,
we'll
we
have
need
to have a
to know what
discussion,
it's
because
gonna
by
cost,
then, we'll,
You'll know.
so,
Yeah.
and we're talking about the spillway overlay and, the signal.
Like,
Yeah, I don't know if I really want to put a match in the signal.
I don't think the match on the signal is do at all.
I don't think we
And you don't have to-
Everybody does that, PRV can put some in.
Nobody else does it.
I don't think there's a requirement on the safety improvements for a match.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, obviously, you get more points if you match, but now the overlay, there is a requirement for match on it, I believe.
I would do 10% on the light, just to be where we're one step ahead of everybody else.
Oh, I think we'll get it, no matter
Well,
what.
you think, but, okay.
We'll have that data for you at the next meeting with, along with the
Do
resolution.
you wanna see any of these numbers that you keep wanting to see about Gunner Luck? Okay.
Do y'all want, I'm volunteering Daniel to make a phone call, but do y'all want us to inquire with PRV?
Yeah, I've already started the conversation with them on it.
To work with
On
us
what?
Like, if they're
Light.
willing to kick in half
Spillway
of
Road.
the impact analysis, that'd be I mean, that's such a small.
We
thing.
need to get a finite answer by the next meeting.
I'll talk to them.
See if they're willing to chip in half of that
All right,
impact
that-
analysis cost.
And that analysis, in my opinion, needs to start, I need to make a phone call tomorrow, or this afternoon.
Get with it.
We're gonna ask them to reimburse the county, okay? But, so that there's no holdup.
So we go-
We're gonna ask PRV to reimburse the county for half of that impact analysis cost. That way Tim's not.
How much money are we talking?
15,000.
$7,500.
Well, tell them we'll pay for it as long as they'll put in as one of their projects.
Okay.
What all do they need? Just letters with him? Talk
They
to
need
their
submit it.
engineer.
They need to put an application just like us.
Same thing, dual application.
Yeah.
And that'll go through their engineer, right?
Yeah, I don't know if, and I can talk to Leslie over there, I don't know if they actually have to physically go and do another application with the same project, or if they can just, or if we can, the county can just say on their application that PRV, and have some letter attached
Hey,
that PRV is.
I'm gonna speak to Susan and all over there.
Okay.
Do you mind following up with their engineer? What's his name?
Greg Burgess.
Burgess.
Yeah.
And just let him know what's happening.
Okay.
I've spoke to board
And
members.
Leslie, find out from Leslie what's the best path forward.
Okay.
All right. All right.
All right.
All right, folks, anything else for additional business? Make a motion, we recess until October 12th at 9 o'clock, so second.
Second.
Second, Mr. Morrison, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you all.
Hey, I was wanting to ask
I need to sign anything else, Ms. Jones?
the other day,